welcome to another episode. This is episode 4 of the Fulfilled Veteran Podcast. I'm Albert Winks. I've got my guest here, Furman. I'll introduce him or have him introduce himself here shortly. But as you know, we do self-sponsor. This is about a 2-hour podcast. We're going to get to know Furman well and what he's done in the past and what he's doing now. So me, like Tim Pool, I like to self-sponsor so I can say whatever the hell I want to without worrying about burning bridges from people who would want to sponsor. So just want to let you know. But I'll talk just a little bit about what I got going on. I have, if you don't know who I am, you need to know. That's why I'm on a podcast now. But for the past 5 years, I've helped veterans receive between $3 and $5 million in your lifetime. Your service, you've earned through your service, by the way. So a non-retired guy like me should get paid about $5,000 a month from Uncle Sam, and that's just tax-free money in the bank. Comes out to about $60,000 a year tax-free, and that's just the beginning of it. There's a ton of other money on the other side, like property taxes and stuff like that. So if you're in Texas, California, Florida, Nebraska, you need to know who I am. So look me up. That's my website here, the fulfilledveteranproject.com. And but yeah, I've worked with over now 3,000 clients and have helped the best and deadliest, mostly work with special operators. So MARSOC, 160th, fighter pilots, all that kind of jazz. Those guys come to me. That's probably why you haven't heard of me yet. Most of my clients come through word of mouth and through the buddy system. And that's what we're doing a lot more on social media so that we can expand our net and that kind of thing. So I'm now being more intentional with that. And Furman's going to learn a lot more about that today too. But so yeah, I've helped deliver at least 3,000 people there, $3 million. And that is over $10 billion that I've delivered in the past 5 years alone. So yeah, I'm the best in the world at what I'm doing. If you don't know me, again, shame on me. That's why I'm doing the podcast and other social media stuff like that now. So just want to let you know. But we'll talk deeper about other things I got going on. Let me turn it over to Furman. Just give me a quick 1 or 2 minute what you did in the service, what you're doing now, so everybody can get to know you and get the hook in.
You bet, brother. Hey, man, first of all, thanks for having me on the show. I do greatly appreciate it. Like you mentioned, I connected with you through word of mouth, literally on LinkedIn. So I'm happy to be able to connect and hear what you're doing for our brothers and sisters, man. That's awesome. My name's Furman Rodriguez III. Grew up in Colorado, enlisted in the Marine Corps in 1992, about 6 months out of high school. Did my first enlistment as an 0311 infantryman, did the reconnaissance indoctrination program, did jump school, dive school, and then I left active duty very shortly after I completed all that schooling and training. So never got to do any cool shit, realistically, outside of jumping and diving. That was the time in which Old Slick Willie was downsizing our military around 1996. And so went home, started to go to college, found out college was definitely not my cup of tea outside of drinking booze and hanging out with people I probably shouldn't have been hanging out with. So about a year later, came back on active duty and became, excuse me, a logistics supply chain guy, doing, just a little bit about everything. Being able to do logistics is huge, especially when it looks like, from the operator side of things, understanding the infantry, understanding the locate, close with, destroy mentality, and being able to better support them, I think really helped me progress through my career. 2 years ago, I retired after 29 years of service. And since that point, I've started a small business, Patriots Provisions, have yet to go live and fully active with that, selling direct-to-consumer beef. But also last year in 2023, I and the founder of Honor Tribe Outdoors have started a nonprofit getting combat veterans, combat wounded guys and gals out into the outdoors doing conservation activities. So that's it, man. Very small, very short. The things that are necessary for us as veterans to take care of each other is what I am absolutely passionate about. Like you, we have helped some vets that have had issues with dealing with the VA, getting through the process, or putting them in the right connections, which is great to be able to know what you're doing, so that now we have another touch point, at least somebody that might be able to help our brothers out to get the benefits that they deserve after the service that they've done for our country.
Good stuff, man. I appreciate that. And by the way, I meant to hold this up a little bit earlier too. So I've got a book deal with a publisher. His name is Trevor, by the way, so I'll mention him several times. But so I've got at least 4 books that we're writing this year, and this is the first one that we're doing. The first 5 fucks to give for veterans, and it's a lot of F's, of course. It's things like finances and family and fitness, those sorts of things. But as Furman and I will chat about today, that there's so much that happens when you're in that transitional state. Maybe you're in still, maybe you're in the reserves or guard or whatever. Maybe you're halfway through your 20 years and you're already got your mindset on something out there in front of you that's different than what Uncle Sam wants you to do right now. And there's guys like us who are able to scoop you up and say, hey, let me help you. Let me get you to your dream or build your empire as quickly as possible. Because I'll give you a great example. There was this guy, he's a client of mine, and he's an older guy too. That's what's even crazier. He was like in his 50s, or even, I don't even want to say 60s, but he was in his 50s. And he said, oh, Albert, now I'm thinking that in the next 5 or 10 years, I'll be able to help veterans. And I was like, 5 or 10 years? You're an old dude. I mean, that's a long way out, 5 or 10 years. If Furman needs help right now, I want to help him right now. I want to be mission fucking capable right now to help him. So just for a little background on me, since Furman doesn't know me either, that I started out as well in the infantry. So I was in the Army, and I did a few years in mechanized infantry over in Germany, late 90s. And I got medically ousted in 2000. Of course, 9/11 happened. I tried to get back in through many different ways. And the short version of this is I applied for special operations, Green Beret stuff to go to selection. Got denied before even for a tattoo that was within regs, but some general was just like, no, I'm just going to deny people post 9/11 for special operations. So that was real smart. Then I was from Texas. I was moved down to Houston area, and was boarded for to fly, tried to fly as a warrant officer, applied to do that again post 9/11, and they said, hey, we're only taking 2 people and there's 10 people applying, so either you can apply again next month, or if you get in essence delayed again or denied again, you can't apply for another year. And I was like, well, fuck that. I like being in charge of my own life. So I said, well, I'm going to go further south to Corpus Christi. And that's where I went to enrolled in ROTC and got my degree, which was on the personal side, something I wanted to do, and got picked up for medevac. So I was a medevac pilot. That's when I bring this full circle. That's where all the logos come from, is that us guys know that when you're on the ground, red smoke means I need help now. And who's going to come get you? Fucking medevac dudes. So, and that's why I'm here to help. So that's why I'm doing the podcast. That's why I'm interviewing guys. That's why I'm doing the book series. I don't like books. The books aren't for me, guys. I don't like reading. So I've got 2 master's degrees, been through flight school. I've read enough fucking books. But I know that you guys need life guides and mentors like me and Furman to be able to guide you through stuff. And you're going to learn a lot of the mistakes that we've made. We don't want you to make the mistakes. As a comedian said the other day, she said, I wish I had a me when I was a you. And exactly. There are guys like us, like Furman and I, who are in the gray hair club. Man, we wish we had somebody out there who could say, hey, man, legit, here's shit that I can help you with. And what Furman and I are going to talk about today, too, is that there's a lot of white noise out there. Just like the 3 tiers of the military. At tier 3 level, there's just so much fucking white noise. There's all these nonprofits that make a lot of promises. There's for-profits that make a lot of promises and not a lot of action. That's why I say that I work mostly with tier 1, tier 2 level people, MARSOC 160 at Delta dudes. Those guys are mine, and they come to me because I fucking do what I say I'm going to do, and it fucking works. That's why there's a big-ass check over my left shoulder. All veterans and service members have served. You've earned that money. It's your money, and the government's hiding it from you. So, and then you want to move your service into the future. I know you do. You want to be a business owner. You want to have your own empire, whether it's a profit, nonprofit, or anything in between. If I can say this to everybody out there, just to set some standards here, just like in the military, crawl, walk, run, and fly. Only veterans know veterans. When I say that to a civilian, they go, I don't get it. But Furman was over there going, yep. When you are higher up on the level and you've got wisdom, your duty is to talk to people lower than you and help them grow. We know that. However, there's a lot of people out there who don't. And even veterans, I mean, like the SEAL said, the best people in the world are SEALs, the worst people in the world are SEALs. So that's what my second book is about, of knowing when you hear bullshit. And we'll talk about my bee and fly situation. But I just want to give you some ideas that we're doing more than just putting money in your pocket. We're putting what you want in your heart. So whether you're still in, you got 10 years to go, or you've been out for 15, 20, 30 years, it doesn't matter. All of us veterans who want to push our passion forwards. That's why Furman and I are here chatting, so we can get to know each other better, and you guys get to know each other better, know us better. Because whether you're getting something going or you're growing it, you get to a point in your business and in your empire to where you know you need to connect with other people who are doing their cool shit too and get on the same page. So by the time I'm done with Furman, I'm sure he'll want to be on my website. I want to be on his website so that we can shoot, move, communicate faster and help our brothers out right fucking now. So I'm going to bring that back to that. Now, one of the first 5 F's that I didn't talk about yet is fast. Furman, wouldn't you have loved to have known me or yourself, older you 5, 10, 15 years ago to be like, hey man, let me get you on the actual squared away version of this. Let me be your mentor. Let me be your guide. Let me get you through that. So tell us some stories about what expectation versus reality of your, let's call it transition, right?
Yeah, brother, you hit the nail on the head, dude. I mean, I wish fucking 10 years ago I had somebody that I could ask questions to that's gone through the process, that knows how to navigate the system, because the system's fucking broken, man. I mean, end of story. That's the simplest way to say it. It's not set up for veterans to be successful throughout their transition process. So if I had you 10 years ago, absolutely, man, I'd have been probably leaps and bounds from where I am right now, to be honest with you. And I've only been out 2 years. Excuse me. So a lot of that was learning on the fly, being fast and quick about trying to decipher bullshit. And being in for 29 years, you can learn how to decipher bullshit rather quickly when dealing with young Marines and young troopers and things like that, and understanding the mechanism itself. That mechanism in the Marine Corps, I'll be honest with you, I'd do it all over again if given the opportunity. I'd probably change a few things here and there. But to be honest with you, brother, I'm proud of the time that I've served and the men and women that I've served with, because that's the most important facet of why we're doing what we're doing here. And that's what's great about getting in touch with you, is knowing and understanding how fucking truly important it is to have old dudes, the Graybeard Club, being there to be able to help support you through your process, whether it be navigating the VA, trying to understand how that process may work. Because I probably would have started my transition 10 years ago had I understood the process better than I do right now. And I'm still navigating that system, man. It took them almost 13 months, I think, for my VA rating to come through and get through the process and go through that channel. So, when that happens, the biggest thing is you're fucking all by yourself, man. You're all alone. If you got a wife at home, she's dealing with your shit while you're dealing with life and marriage and the transition process. And it's important to have somebody that you can rely on that can mentor you through that process, that may have had said, hey, man, this is what I went through. This is how I went through the process. Here's how I can help you. But, man, there just aren't enough resources out there that are capable of doing that for people. Whether it's 4 years, 6 years, 10 years, or 30 years, man, there's not a lot of shit out there that is designed to make that process better for our veterans that are transitioning. And, there's a lot of shit out there that are being kept from us. I mean, I'm still delving, probably barely scratching the surface on what is available out there. And, being a small business owner, starting up like that, they say there's money, they say there's things out there available to you. But at the end of the day, what do they look at, man? What are they truly looking at? Well, I own 2 homes. Well, your debt to income ratio is pretty ridiculous because you have 2 homes. Yeah, that's probably one of the largest lines of bullshit I've ever heard any lender or anybody say, that they're a VA lender or veteran-friendly lender to look at, because those are investments. Those are things that are assets that become assets to you, especially ones rented, So there's just so much out there. I wish I can, there's so much to delve into. There's so much to do. There's so much to kind of pull away the bullshit smoke screens that it's unnecessary. But looking at how things are currently in this day and age of our government, man, there's so much bullshit being fed across every spectrum. There's been a long time I haven't done social media, and that's probably the one or two bigger reasons. Is one, I'm always thinking OPSEC, right? Thinking about, if enemy knows where I am and knows what I'm doing, if I'm that person that's out there sharing every fucking picture of my meals or some stupid shit like that, tagging places and locations, I'm always kind of thinking in the manner of, somebody's always watching you, where that be the enemy or the government watching over you. But there's just, it's wild to see, just how much is against us. And that's one of the bigger reasons why we've started the nonprofit last year, is to try to be that mentor, that group of dudes that want to help other brothers and sisters out, and make sure that if we don't know the answer, we find somebody that can get that answer for them, man. So I'll jump off my soapbox, because I can get going really good, man, because it fires me up, man, to know how badly the DoD TRS transition program is. There's nothing in that is viable or sustainable to help veterans. And then when you start talking about the tier 1 dudes, man, I mean, there's so much even less of that they get, because it's just, you're in and out, you're hot, you're fast, you come in quick and you get out as quick as you got in. And that's unfortunate that program is just so limited in its scope, that it could truly be something that should be continually educated upon, whether you do 4 years, 6 years, or 20 years, man. So.
No, I appreciate that. And we'll come back to where we are now too. Let me take you back in time. When did you realize that you were different? And I'll say it this way, because again, my second book is about finding yourself and realizing who you are and who the people around you aren't, because inside your head, as a I call it a black wolf, right? We know you probably have always felt like you're the black sheep of the family. And then you get to a point where you're like, man, I'm the black wolf of the family. How am I so fucking different than anybody else in my family? And how am I able to excel at a high ass level? And any of you special operators out there know that, like, let's just use SEALs for an example, that the attrition rate when you go through buds is so high, but they know that the people who, out of let's put it into three spectrums, the people who are always winners, high school, I was from small high school and I always won. Those guys never seem to make it. The middle third is the one who makes it. The quiet third. It's the bottom third who were always told that they weren't going to make it or whatever, and they just, I don't know what the fuck their motivators are, but those guys drop off fast too. And I did just post something, or I sent it to my staff to post out there, and it was a recording of not a BUDS graduation, but at the end when you got all these helmets laying on the ground, right? And it's so many fucking little bitty helmets. And you go from a class of whatever the classes are right now, like 100 plus people. And by the end of it, you've got like 20 or less than 20, right? 10 to 15 is pretty average. And then of course, the higher up it is, like 100 Delta dudes get invited per year, and only fucking, I don't think there's been 1,000 Delta dudes in the entire history of them since the 70s. And 4 of them are my clients. So it's insane how many people are out there. And that's my point back to the black, not only black sheep, but black wolf, is you just know that there's always something more in you. And I've always had a positive mindset. So this is where me and maybe David Goggins don't agree on things, because I think his mindset was something about like that and I'm not poo-pooing on the guy or whatever, everybody's got their own thing, but that's why there's ecosystem for a reason. People that generate or their frequency resonates with him, that's fine. But I hope that you resonate more with mine, because I think positively. And one of the things that he talked about, and not on my podcast, on something else, was that somehow he's always looking over his shoulder for the people behind him. Like, oh, I'm going to show them. I don't personally give a fuck about people behind me. So I care about my family and my own and the people that I can control. I can't, in the sense of control, I can't control Furman or his kitchen table, nor can he control mine. So that's where we're going to talk about. Let's bring things down to small. We want to be part of something bigger than us, but what is small and more powerful is being part of your own kitchen table. And we'll talk about that here shortly. But my point back to Furman and some of you guys out there is, I'm sure there's a point in your life, just like most of us, that you go, man, I'm not only black sheep, I'm black wolf. I'm way different. And doesn't mean everything's going to be easy for you. Grades were never easy for me, but leadership was. So I was a BC student and was top 3% of my class. And for leadership. And that's what got me selected for only one of 12 in my year group to be a medevac pilot. Hey, are you dumb enough to go fly medevac missions? You dumb enough to give me a helicopter and have me do it? Yep. Yep. We'll both say yep and go fucking do it. But, and I flew, 268 combat missions, picking up over 350 patients from the battlefield out there. Everything from Korengal Valley down to, what was it, Bob Warrior? That's what it was called when I was over there. So doing all kinds of Highway 1 shit, lands. Honestly, man, the worst shit that's out there in Afghanistan. I was a part of that stuff, and that was back in 09 and 10. But I've always been one that's been the owner of my own destiny, and I don't like people telling me no. And I'm not thumbing my nose at them. I just go, okay, I hear you. I appreciate your feedback, positive, but I'm going to take it further. If you show me a barrier, Albert, you have to have, this needs to be in some kind of font. Okay, well, I'll hire somebody to put it in the fucking font. But like, if I need something done, I'm going to fucking get it done. It's that easy. And I just like any good medevac pilot, I plan for the worst and hope for the best. So by the time a decision comes past my desk, I'm already well trained for it. I've never had a client who could tell me something that I didn't know the answer to. And people try. I mean, these are amazingly smart people, academy grads and all that kind of stuff, and engineers, and nobody has ever been able to stump me. So just saying. But anyway, bring it back to Furman. When did you realize that you were different, and you, whether heading into the military or as you started your transition, like we're talking about now, when did you realize that you were different and you wanted to take your wisdom and share it with other people that are behind you so you can help them out? Talk me through that.
That probably came to me when I was on recruiting duty after my first deployment in 03. When I was faced with making mission of 7 every single month, because that was at the point when, you know, the Marine Corps was beginning to grow in size to support the OIF, OEF missions. And I knew that there was something that just kept me from quitting. No matter how many no's I got, no matter how many people were like, fuck, man, I don't want to join the military. What am I going to do? Go and get shot in the face or some shit? You know, well, that's kind of, you know, that's why it's not for everyone. That's why the military, the Marine Corps, you know, that's why it's not for everyone. You have to have that right mindset. And my mindset was there was never going to be a point where I would quit, no matter how many times I got kicked in the balls, no matter how many no's. And then I had a group of recruiters that I would continually mentor through that process, because, you know, when you go from 1 to 2 to 3, and then you're going to 7 mission requirement during that time, people are like, shit, man, I'm never going to get home to see my family. And we didn't, you know, for that entire almost 40 months that I was on recruiting duty, it went from 6 to 7 days a week to, you know, 14, 18-hour days every single day, where you'd go wash your ass and you'd be right back out on the streets, or you'd be making phone calls, or you'd be visiting schools. And that was just, to me, it was more about not so much the success of the requirement, but seeing my recruiters and seeing my young Marines begin to be successful and understand when you hit your stride, man, as long as you've got the right person backing you, there's nothing that you can't fucking do, you know? And I think it was as a young Staff Sergeant E6 when I was on recruiting duty that really showed me where my potential really could lie. And that was, you know, I've had some leadership positions, you know, in the past, you know, in the infantry side, you know, being the squad leader and whatnot. But this really opened up my orifice to be able to look at things and be like, well, shit, man, I can see 10, 12 steps ahead of these guys because I've been doing it for 6, 8 months, a year before them, and kind of help, you know, tutor them, mentor them through these processes and things that they're going to have to overcome. Whether that, you know, like you mentioned, your family, you know, family on recruiting duty is hard to have, man. You know, I had 2 young kids and a wife at the time, and you know, that was really, really difficult to navigate. And unfortunately, at the time when I came off recruiting duty is when I went through my divorce and got custody of my kids. That was really, really even more challenging to have to deal with at that point. But when you establish the ability to be successful and you know what it takes to be successful, a lot of times our family takes a back seat to that success in the military service when you're wearing the uniform, because you're so focused on the mission, and that mission is just a mission. But one of the things that I came away with during that time, I had a master guns tell me, is like, Furman, no matter the mission is always going to be the mission, but you're always going to have Marines that are going to be looking to you. So the mission is the mission, and that's first, but it's people always, and making sure that you mentor your people no matter what they're going through. And I learned a lot from that particular statement: mission first, but people always. And that's what, from that point on, I spent maybe the last 20 years of my career as a staff non-commissioned officer, E6 through E9, looking at that from that perspective of understanding what was important in the mission, but also how do I make sure that I manage my people to make sure that they don't burn out too quickly, to make sure that they continue to be successful. And as you continue to progress and continue to grow as a man, as a leader, as a father, and as a mentor, you can always understand people by just having 10 or 15 minutes of a person's time every morning. Getting around, talking to them, talking to your young Marines, and asking, hey, how are you? Looking at their body language, looking at their face, looking at what they're doing, what do they spend their time doing, gives you insight into the type of person that they are. And you can't do that if you sit behind a desk and don't leave your fucking office, or you're too focused on other bullshit, your own shit. And that's where, my leadership style really came to kind of grow, in the point where, before we started the day, before we did anything, post PT, post anything, talking to the Marines was the primary focus for me every single day. And that to me, I could see can be infectious. It can be infectious when you're at the E9 level, or when you're at the E6 level. At the E6 level, your sergeants see you doing that, and they're like, shit, man, this is pretty fucking awesome. This is what I want from a leader. And of course, I never did everything perfectly. Everybody has their mistakes. Everybody trips and falls on their face. And you always step on your dick every once in a while too, just with some of the shit that you say. But that's just the way that you learn. Being a wolf, wolves aren't those guys that are out there, banging their chest and saying how great they are and the things that they do. That wolf leads quietly, but he leads consistently. There's always the consistency that I see, that I've tried to fulfill for my Marines and for the mission alike, was to be consistent with everyone. And what's crazy, man, the last few years, looking back to about just after COVID, when everybody kind of started coming back to work, seeing the change in the political arena at that time was a fucking nightmare for me, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
Between the new policies and this transgender thing, and live your life, man, do your due, but stop forcing that shit on people to have to accept the shit that you do behind closed doors. Anyway, I digress on that particular point, because that's just a topic that we can probably dive down and be really, really fucking negative about. But
Yeah,
live your life and do the things that you do, but keep your politics out of the military, keep your politics out of the Marine Corps. Stop allowing those policies to weaponize things against good Marines that have dealt with the bullshit just because of your feelings. But
I got a really good story about that too, by the way. So the Marine 05 who got put in jail for saying, hey, higher rank people, you need to put your rank on the table, and I think he mentioned his benefits or something like that too. They don't need to put their benefits on the table because they've earned them, but like, put your rank on the table and be like, hey man, do these things. So he was actually on. So I know I've got his cell number. So he was texting with me a couple of days prior to that, because one of my connections from Nashville knows him or got connected with him, and she said, hey, you need to know about Albert. And so he's on my calendar, and it happens pretty often where somebody who's important going through a bunch of shit will miss a phone call, but then I'll get a call back later or a text later. Oh man, I was in the skiff, and God damn it, man, General so-and-so was up my ass about some kind of thing going on. So, okay, Albert, let me call you right now so we can talk through this. So it's quite common for somebody to miss a comm check with me. So his 30-minute time goes by, and I send him a text, hey, just let me know when you're free so I can brief you up on everything. And I finished up a couple other calls that day, and then I checked the news, and he had been sent to jail for a time. So he was on my calendar the day that he got sent to jail. So just let you know, people. I mean, again, that's why Furman and I are here, to let you know who we know and what we know, and being able to call out both the good, bad, and the ugly, because you have to you have to identify, and I was going to bring this up with about it's interesting being a former infantry guy and then going into the aviation world, where in aviation they do care about you being burnout. I don't know about how much they care, but at least it's talked about. It's a briefing. In the infantry, they don't give a fuck. You're tired, eat more dirt, run more, put dirt on it, and whatever. Go whine to your mom later. But and something else you were thinking about there, or making me think about there, was how the like rest and make sure you're all check your buddies and all that kind of stuff. And just in aviation, there's an actual like radar systems and stuff that identify friend or foe, and you have to know what's around you. You have to know where your radar is and where your altimeter is, and what your airspace looks like, and what kind of enemy is out there, and what kind of capabilities they have. And what Furman is talking about right now too is even our own government has enemy within. And it wasn't a podcast of mine, but a client of mine, new client of mine from last week, he was giving me and my staff kudos because he is 65 years old and he was a Blue Angel, one of the pilots for Blue Angels. And he said, Albert, in 1776, George Washington and our founding fathers, they were badasses on the battlefield, badass business owners, and wanted to represent freedom. And the government at the time wasn't taking care of veterans. And he said it's sad, and Furman's making me think of this, that we're still fighting that same fucking fight. Over 200 something years later, we're still having the same goddamn problem. So how do we fix those problems? Make decisions at very small levels. And so Furman and I are going to talk about that today too. Like, okay, we wanted to be part of big things, but then you find out that those big green machines or Uncle Sam or whatever is way bigger. Every entity out there is so big, whether it's the VA or property taxes or those sorts of things. So you start getting smaller. Be on a school board or sit at your own kitchen table every night and talk to your family and get to know them. You know, like Furman's talking about, get to know your staff or other boards or entities that you're a part of. Get to know your team. And when you identify a foe, know it. And when you identify a friendly, know that too. So you just have to be able to know your ecosystem. And we'll talk further about that. But
and
so
the other point to that, bro, is knowing your team and knowing what they're capable of doing, right? I mean, because if you've got some dude, you got some Joe that's just a fucking grunt that all he wants to do is go out and just grunt work shit out, then you know that that's what his capabilities of, and you either can figure out that he's got other capabilities behind that, or if he's just the single shot man that he's going to go and do everything that you need him to do, and those are the great people that you need to have around. But if you don't understand your other team's capabilities, their ability to sit and talk with somebody, their ability to sit and pitch with somebody, or they may just be so fucking intelligent that they know a broad range of shit, but it takes you a little while to pull those things out of them, So it's important to know your team, but knowing what they're capable of as well is another aspect to that topic that you just mentioned, man.
Yeah, definitely. And there is an ecosystem for a reason too. I use that all the time because there's my third book is about making small teams doing great things. And so once you've identified that, hey, Furman could probably chew through walls if I give him a compass and I say, 360 is that way, go, I'll meet you there tomorrow. He'll be like, okay, roger that, moving. And that's what you need when you can depend on somebody. And I go back to football analogies here because the greatest coaches out there will tell you how you have a good team is by having great individuals. The great individual who does his job, if number 11 does his job and number 33 does his job, then it's a winning success. But if they're making fucking excuses and shit like that, then you're getting, I've got a shirt right here, by the way, that says that. And I wear it when I go running and stuff like that. And people will go, oh my God, great shirt. So, but like, don't give me fucking excuses. Give me fucking results, man. So there's that for a reason. So just a little heads up. That's some of the things that we focus on. But so let's talk more about Furman. When you started figuring out that you're different and you wanted to push that passion forward. So was it you were 10 years in? Were you 10 years out? I know you said you did almost 30 years. So when did you go, all right, I want to do some other shit too and be able to now like everything, every life cycle has a bell curve to it, right? You get started, you go through basic, then you go to AIT or whatever, and then you get out there in the field and you start learning and then you start growing. And okay, like you said, I'm an E5, now I'm an E6, and I'm climbing that ladder. And what the reason why we're doing this too is to make sure that once you start getting on the downhill, because downhill comes fast. Once you, especially in the civilian world, take on a job that you don't like anymore, or they don't like you, that downward curve is fucking fast. And just like Furman mentioned, it's not just you going for the ride, it's your family. So there's fast, family, faith. These are all F's in my book, by the way. So that's what I talk about too. And but what you want to do is exit at the peak. So I'll give you an example. A lot of veterans tell me that they wish they would have done what I did, do about 10 years, get some wisdom, but then get out and go do something else. Or if you can do, I know Furman talked about some investment properties. So if you can do while you're still in, even better, guard, reserve, or whatever. Or if you're able to get to a point with your career that or whatever your job is in the service or in uniform, it's called multiple income streams, folks. When you have multiple income streams, I see Furman smile already because he knows about it. That when you have it, I'll tell you this, part of my process to help coaching my veterans is, so I've got two businesses. One is for the military, the money that you've earned being a veteran. So that's more of the consulting through that. But my business coaching is to help you get your empire very quickly, and maybe getting it going, getting it growing. And a goal that if you're making money, I want you to make $1 million quickly. And in your business, hire staff so that you can make $1 million in your bank account, just for some random opportunities there. It's a hell of a lot easier to make $1 million when you're in charge of your destiny than it is for you to make, like I've made millions of dollars for other people. As a quote sales guy, I was a top sales guy making $2 million a year for somebody else. I was getting a fucking EB fraction of that. And it wasn't 2 million, I wasn't even 200,000. It was barely 200,000, maybe even not even 200,000. But it's crazy when you go from making $200,000 in a year to making $200,000 in a month. And you can't do that in the working for somebody else. Now, you'll hear me talk about this. You got to do some shit for free. You're never going to get paid what you're worth. If I make somebody else if I make Furman $5 million, does he pay me $5 million to make him $5? Probably not. That's not fair. That's not a business model, folks. That's why people have clients. When have you ever seen in business somebody go, well, Elon Musk is worth $1 billion because he made Oprah Winfrey $1 billion? Never. That's not a business model. So, so you have to create value for other people, and then create your menu that people will pay you for, create outcomes and viable outcomes and timeframes, and have multiple clients. So that's how I've gotten over 3,000 clients, but just putting some cart there before the horse. But Furman, back over to you. I'm curious to, now that I've had some of my ramblings, when did you figure out that you were going to start doing some other things, other life cycles for getting into business and helping yourself?
So it kind of always stopped me in that once I did leave, I didn't want to go back and work for anybody, and I honestly never imagined I'd do 29 years, to be honest with you, man. I thought I was going to go in, have the dream, go to college, make $1 million and, establish a legacy for my family, whatever that was going to be at that point. And then I hit 15 years. I was in Afghanistan. I did my re-enlistment. I'm like, fuck, man, I guess I'm in this for the long haul at this point, It was at the same time that you were there, to be honest with you, end of 9 through 10 and into 11. I left Afghanistan after serving for 6 months after with the Brits. Actually served with the Royal Marines up around Ring 1 during a very tough time for the Marine Corps. 3rd Battalion, 5th Marines, they were getting pretty hammered up in Sangin at that time. So you may have done some medevacs up in that area when the Brits were in control of that area, but I was there at the time. Anyway, getting back to my thought process is, I thought at that point, I knew I was going to be a business owner, small business owner in some capacity. Wasn't quite sure exactly what that was going to be, but it was always something that was constantly on my mind, constantly looking at a way to make sure that what I do is what I've earned, and not come off the back of busting my ass for somebody else and getting, like you said, that fraction of a percentage of the money that they're making. So as I've progressed, as I bought another house, as we got settled in, when I come back from Afghanistan, the transition, the PCS times and things like that, uprooting your kids and things like that, all takes a big toll on you. Kids start to grow, you miss out in time, you have to reintegrate back with the family and things like that. But there was still always that thought process. I was going to do something more to set my sons up for a future legacy that maybe my great grandkids might be able to take over at some point. So as I grew and matured, as my mentorship program style started to come a little bit better and a little bit more cohesive with my Marines and my sons, I always thought, being like a counselor or something like that. So I started taking college courses, right? So finished my degree through University of Maryland Global Campus in psychology. And I took a master's program, first class, man. And I kid you not, dude, I wanted to shoot myself in the fucking face, dude. I mean, between just the book work, between the research programs and things like that, I honestly, I hit a point where I was like, fuck, I just want to shoot myself. It was just so bad. So I pivoted, took another direction, started looking into, the health and fitness sort of thing, started looking at getting some certifications and, being a trainer, going to learn some, physical therapy, things like that. And then I started again getting into God, I don't want to do this college book thing, man. I look at it now, and I'm taking classes again, and that's just probably more of my own OCD. If I'm not learning something, I'm not evolving, I'm not growing, I'm not going to better myself in the future. And that's probably the biggest part of my problem is I've got so many thoughts that I can think about being able to do at one point that I just really having that narrowed down focus in some instances. But the minute you stop learning, you start dying, man, in my opinion. So there's always something to be learned, whether I'm 50 years old or I'm still 60, there's still always going to be something that I can learn. And that's, I guess, evolution in my mind, and going back to, figuring that out at that point. When you figure out you're different, man, people are like, dude, why the fuck are you taking more classes? Why are you doing these things? It's painful. I see it's painful. And you're right. But at the end of the day, that pain can be something that can help somebody else see to push through. And it doesn't have to be directly. It can be indirectly in some capacity. You might inspire somebody just by saying how fucking miserable you are doing it, but they're like, I want that misery. I see that your drive to be successful, or your drive to be better than you were yesterday, gives me inspiration to be better than I was yesterday as well. So I know I kind of went off a little bit there, man, but that's kind of how, to me, where it really started to look like it's easy to sit back and be the guy that kind of just gets by, but I'd much rather be the guy that, in the military, man, you've got people that tell you, look, just be honest with me. Commanders tell you, be honest with me. Tell me what I need to know. Well, I have that very great talent of telling people what I believe based on my knowledge, based on my expertise. But a lot of times, man, I think that's a smokescreen for people to tell you, just kind of lie to me, sugarcoat it, and let me kind of get away with being that sugar-coated bullshit, where I've never been that kind of guy, man. If you want to know the truth, I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm going to tell you why it's fucked up, and I'm also going to tell you how I think we can fix it. And at the end of the day, that's kind of how I look at things. That's kind of how I've evolved. There's always a program, there's always a problem, there's always an issue that something in some way is going to require you to overcome. And it just becomes mindset at that point, knowing that there's no obstacle that can keep me back from being able to accomplish what I need to accomplish. And that's kind of where, I've continued to grow. I've had some challenges in the last few years. I had a hip reconstruction in 2015. Went right back into running, marathons, trying to do the things that I was doing before that surgery. And then 2019, I had a complete hip replacement and a knee replacement and all that good stuff, man, because I was just so fucking focused on those things to be able to continue doing those things, where I probably, had I just pulled myself back a little bit, may be a little bit more physically capable at this point. But it's really hard to understand. But, also thinking about your analogy, man, that wolf don't give a fuck, man. At the end of the day, it's about that one thing that needs to be accomplished, right? Every single day, there's something that needs to be done. And that's just how I continue to pursue life at this point. I've not worked for 2 years, trying to get my business going, trying to really focus and emphasize, like you, man, taking care of our brothers, man. That's truly the mission at this point.
Let's talk about that too. How did that get off the ground? What was it that was the finally you're going to get your business going? Talk to me about that.
So I've got family that has land in Colorado, and I eat meat, man. I'm a hunter. I love bow hunting. I love shooting. I love hunting, being out in the outdoors, fishing, hiking. Love doing that stuff. I've done it for a long time, growing up in Colorado. I didn't get to do it as much as I would have loved to while I was on active duty. But now that I'm retired in the last few years, my wife says when it's hunting season, she becomes a widow because I'm hunting all the time, for months on end. But I saw how my family's doing business. And going back to your question, knowing when I was different, knowing how I can improve upon things, process improvement, or see things before they happen. My family's just been content making it, just barely getting through, right? Looking at the market, being a meat eater, watching how things are progressing, looking at how currently in our current state as a country, our food system is so broken and so degraded, knowing and understanding that that's a problem, not just for our country, but for me as an individual. If I live in the city, man, shit goes down and I don't have my own food, I'm screwed. If I don't have my own meat, if I don't have my own preserved things and stuff like that, and I'm in a bad situation. I can't take care of my wife. I can't take care of my family. I can't get to where I need to get to. Which kind of inspired me to look a little bit more into the direct consumer meat programs that are just out there. And I'm not talking about I don't know what's a Good Chop or some other box communities like that, because I really don't know. They don't tell you where their meat comes from, but I do know that my family's beef is completely natural. Because I hate the word organic. Organic is just a bullshit term that was created by the USDA to charge you money to do something that they want to have oversight and bullshit control of in whatever capacity. So our beef's natural. And I can see that over the last few years that I had been going home hunting, that they were getting ripped off, man. I mean, the auctioneers are paying pennies on the dollar, per pound. Then they're selling it to the processors. The processors then are selling it out. And the guy that's making the most money is that person that's selling it to the big chain stores, because they're selling it wholesale because they paid nothing for it to begin with. So seeing and knowing and understanding that, really kind of inspired me to look at the entire process. So last year was my first year proof of concept. Proof of concept paid was way more successful than I ever thought it would be. So now this year we're looking at a secondary step of proof of concept of processing our own meat and then being able to sell that directly to people, whether it's locally in Colorado, Texas, wherever, to see how well that goes, to kind of understand what my overhead's going to be, what packaging, what processing, what boxing, how do I need to make sure I ship it, and making sure that that's going to be viable before we start to really delve into either trying to expand our herd, get more property, lease more land, whatever that case is, making sure that it's going to be viable from the perspective of knowing where things are coming from to get it to that end user, and then being able to get people to say, hey, man, that's the best piece of beef I've ever had in my life, So that's kind of what really inspired me to get into it, is looking at trying to help build a greater legacy. One, to help my family keep their land so they never have to worry about losing it, but two, keep them to be able to be more than just okay. And that's, again, going back to when I knew I was different, is I never settled for just mediocrity, man. I'm going to try and I'm going to fail because you always fail no matter what. And your biggest lessons come out of those failures, man. So, if you don't try, you don't know. And that's why I got started with what we got started so far. So,
well, if you don't, and I'm going to put a little caveat on that. If you don't try, you're guaranteed failure.
Absolutely.
Like, people will always, when I'm briefing them, they'll be like, okay, Albert, I know you told me a 30-minute briefing and you told me all the outcomes, but can you give me this kind of guarantee? I know you can't guarantee blah, blah. And I said, man, the only guarantee is the loss. if you sit on your thumb for 6 months or a year, you've lost 6 months and a year's worth of money that was yours the whole time. And it's like with the government, it's use or lose. So it's gone. It's gone. And I Albert lost $65,000 because of over a 5-year period. I thought that I was at 90% and I was going to, I never knew that 100% meant a lot more money for me. And I lost $65,000 that I can't get back. That was mine the whole time. And somehow the government can go, nope, we'll throw your money out over some fucking foreign country somewhere.
Yep.
Which, by the way, Furman, I grew up on a cattle ranch, so I'm fully getting you. And I east of Dallas, so
Okay.
But and I have the ability to zoom in and zoom out on time on things. It's I don't know if everybody has that ability. It's weird. I can't do math in my head. I can't juggle tennis balls. So I know to do this thing right here, but I can't do it. I can fly helicopters. I can ride horses. I was a gymnast, all that kind of stuff. I can do a lot of things, but I can't do those few things. And I don't want to say it infuriates me, but it makes me focus on the other things. I realize I can't juggle, so I'm not going to fucking practice. I don't want to be a clown, but I can zoom in and zoom out on time and locations. So as Furman was telling me that, I'm like, okay, yeah, there's different. And I get your point that if you're in control of your land, you're in more control of your production and your process. And now there's so much technology now that you could, like, I don't call it flash freezing, but whatever you need to do, or even like you said, start local and prove yourself out from there. So anyway, just thinking of things there's so many things that I'll just give you an example. Another reason why I'm doing the podcast is to be able to give you guys motivation too on and processes to plan, if you want to call it that, to get your thing going. Because if you look at Black Rifle Coffee, who else we got out there? We got Front Style, Nine Line Apparel. Those are like the big three that people know about. Look how many veterans there are out there, just over GWAT era. Fuck ton of them. So I should be able to go, there's Furman's thing and there's Albert's thing and all these people. And you should be on the other side of this. You guys should be going, wow, yeah, those are all fucking rock stars who've been out there. Everybody knows who Larry Bird is and everybody knows who Troy Aikman is, you know what I mean? From different eras and rock stars and movie stars and shit like that. So if I say, hey, Motley Crue, you're like, oh my God, I love those guys. But if I say Furman, you're like, I don't know who the fuck that is. And I'm like, and if you say Albert, you're like, I don't know who that dude is. So, you know what's crazy? The biggest movies out there in the world, I've only delivered a few million or $100 million or whatever, but or maybe $3 billion. But I've delivered over $10 billion, and a lot of people haven't heard of me. Isn't that crazy? So my point to saying that, folks, is if you don't try, you're gonna fail. When you do try, even when you do produce and provide and prove yourself to whomever you're trying to prove, you still may be 5 years in going, fuck, man, I've delivered billions of dollars or a bunch of cows to people and they're all getting food in their belly. But man, I want to do more. And that's what I wake up every day going, you know what? The only heartburn I've got is I want to help more veterans. That's why I've got a podcast. So that's all you got to do is roll out of bed and go, how can I make today better for my people? And
amen, brother.
How can I go to my kitchen table today and sit down and go eat cereal or whatever with the kids and go, you know what? Today's going to be a great day because I'm going to do what I do. That's all you got to do. That's it. So just get out of bed and do stuff. And it'll stack up in a positive way. So I tell my kids, my family all the time, do something good every day. That way, when somebody wants to check your grit, your grit in your calendar. And that's why I call it the Fulfills Veteran Project. And going back to a line that Furman said, there's a lot of half-assers out there. And there's a lot of people who talk big and then they get fucking burnt out. And that's why I've got different books and stuff like that and be able to guide you guys through that to be able to say, all right, here's where you are in space and time. And just like any good medevac guy knows, I've got my area of expertise. I've got where my area of battlefield space. So if Furman is over here and he's doing well, but he wants to do better, okay, fine. If Rick or whomever is over here and he wants to do better too, it's where you want to be is where guys like Furman and I can help you get to. And you just have to link arms with other people who, like in the military, say be, know, and do. If you want to be better, first you have to know better, then you have to do better. So it's in that order. At least in the Army, we put it in that order. So that's what I teach people to do. Is just, if you want to be better, you know it. Let's start where you need to start. You have to know better. You have to know Furman's out there. You have to know guys like me are out there, and you have to be able to get linked up and do something good every day, and it'll stack up in a positive way. But going back to Furman, so you've been going through proving the concept, and I'm just trying to zoom in on things that you said. So you start doing the for-profit. You got land. Let's see, something else I was going to say. When did you hit the positive snag of like, man, we need to help more veterans with a nonprofit? So talk to me about that.
Oh, I'm glad you asked that question, man, because that's truly, probably my largest passion. My wife too. So my wife's still active duty in the Navy serving. She just started a medical board process that I'm trying to again tap into some resources to better understand that
Have her talk to me. Both of you guys need to talk to me, by the way. Yes.
That's just it's such a convoluted process. It goes down so many different pathways that we probably don't have enough time to discuss that in this particular podcast, but it's such a shit show of a system. Anyway, a couple of years ago I met this dude Brad LeBlanc, Green Beret, phenomenal dude, absolutely phenomenal dude. I've got some SEAL buddies, I've got some Recondos, being an old head, like they would say, because I had a gold jump wing, silver scuba bubble, but I never did any cool shit like that. But most of my career, I'd go to some units that could jump still and all that other stuff. Anyway, we got connected through another nonprofit organization by the name of Combat Marine Outdoors. Another amazing, wonderful, that's how we kind of evolved and started to talk about establishing our own nonprofit. Through Art Garcia and Combat Marine Outdoors that do phenomenal things. They're based out of Texas, out of Houston. If I'm not, you're from Houston, you said, right? Or I'm sorry,
Dallas area.
Dallas area. Yeah. So they're headquartered out of Houston, but they've been in business and operating for about 15 years, maybe 18 at this point. But I linked up with them back in 2017. I got a call one day and they said, "Hey man, we got your info from as a referral from some veteran that's gone on one of our hunts. Do you think you'd be interested in doing any kind of a hunt with us this weekend? We had somebody cancel. We're looking to fill the spot for somebody to come to do this hunt." And I'm like, what do I need to bring and where do I need to go to, man? Talk about hunting, being fishing, something like that, dude. You're talking my wheelhouse, because that's the stuff that I absolutely love doing. So about 45 minutes later, he calls me back. He's like, "Hey, brother, we got you a ticket. We're flying you in." I was like, "Okay, so what do I need to bring? Do I need to bring my own rifle?" I'm like, "Look, man, bring your hygiene gear and bring some clothes, and everything else will be taken care of." So I'm like, "Okay, I'm just going to trust the process. You've been doing this." So I showed up, man. They had already left to the ranch, but they left me a vehicle there, gave me directions, gave me a strip map, followed the directions, get to the ranch. And I get to this ranch in Hondo, Texas. I think it was 1,800 acres. High fence place, absolutely beautiful, just gorgeous. Got water running, big cliffs and things like that. Get myself there, get unloaded, get introduced to the owners of the ranch and all that other good stuff. And then they're like, "Hey, so tomorrow we're going to do this little drawing," because I think there were 5 of us veterans there. They're like, "Hey, we put your name in a hat. Whatever we pick, we're going to assign you an animal that we're going to go hunt tomorrow on the ranch." So I'll try to wrap this up because I know we don't have an unlimited amount of time for this. But bottom line is, I got pulled to do a red stag hunt on this ranch, all taken care of through the amazing donors and folks that do their donations and nonprofit stuff through Combat Marine Outdoors. But just so happened, I shot the number 3 red stag in the nation that year on a high fence ranch in Texas. Got my name in the record books for SCI because it was a gold cup stag and all that other good stuff. Anyway, a few years later, I met Brad at the same sort of an event that he was hosting in Alabama. So he and I started talking, birds of a flock, man. When you're kind of that wolf kind of person, we gravitate to each other right away. And it was a funny story that one of the guys that was there was a sailor, and he's like, "Man, what I hated about being deployed? This one time we didn't have hot water or Wi-Fi on the ship." And Brad and I immediately looked at each other and we're like, dude, shut the fuck up or you're going to go in the fire. You know, just because
Yeah.
of some of the shit that we've
Yeah.
both gone through, you know, either through deployments or training and things like that, you know. So from that point on, we really started to kind of brain meld with each other. So last year he calls me up. He's like, hey, dude, I did something. I was like, all right, brother, what's going on? What'd you do? He's like, I registered the nonprofit. I was like, fuck yes, dude. I was just thinking about what and how we're going to get this started. So he got it registered, and immediately I went into action, man. Started looking at what is it that we're going to need to build? What things do we need to establish and put in place to be able to start being able to get veterans out to the ranch? So the way that this happened is March Ranch near San Angelo, Texas. They used to have 100,000 acres. We still have some family land out there, but one of the owners ultimately offered to us to be able to give us a portion of access of their 9,000 acres that they have. So we're like, we're rocking and rolling. We have a place, we have a home base, we have a location that we can get veterans out to. So then we just went into action, man. We started getting, you know, hats and shirts and things like that, so that when our brothers came out, we had something for them to be able to take home with them, to know that they're not alone when they go back home. Because the greatest part about some of these events is, man, it's great. 3-4 days, you spend with people, you build a relationship, and then you go fucking home by yourself. And if you're like me, you know, my wife's at work, I'm sitting at home. What the fuck do I do now, man? You know, that depressive state can very quickly come back to you after you've been built up for a few days. Mm-hmm. But knowing that you have that network of dudes and gals that you met at this event is what's really kind of, you know, helped us get to that point. So, we got it started. Last year, we had a goal of doing 10 veterans. Brother, we did 40 veterans last year through our organization. What the hardest part about it is, Brad and I were self-funding all this shit, man. You know, so between ammo and food and, you know, things like that, to make sure that when the veterans came out, they didn't have to come out of pocket for us. And to me, I got so much satisfaction, man, when you sit down with somebody in a deer stand or a deer blind or a shoot house or whatever your terminology is, mm-hmm. and you get to be able to build that relationship with them and know and understand the person they are, the person they want to be, the person they used to be. And then you can start to build that true, real relational perspective, man, is what gave me so much satisfaction of last year. Now, you ask my wife, our pocketbook and our checkbook doesn't look quite the same as it did last year as it does right now. But to me, it was worth it. And my wife understands that. She sees that. And she's completely on board with that as well, which is what's amazing, is that she's really supportive of that perspective too. So we're getting into year 2. This next year, brother, we've got some amazing people that have donated so much to us. Like Colorado, we have a mountain lion hunt that we're going to do in January, February 2025. A gentleman has donated an alligator hunt for us down here in Louisiana, and another rancher that has opened up his 10,000 acres to us to get another group of 10 veterans out has offered us a trophy axis hunt on his high fence ranch. And we're continuing to build. We went to SCI's convention in Nashville a few months ago. And man, that opened up so many doors for us for other ranches across this country, dude, that I'm so excited, dude. I'm jumping out of my skin right now, waiting for
it shows too. That's good stuff.
To get closer and closer to hunting, so I can start building our schedule out, man. You know, I mean, ranches have offered to bring 1 or 2 veterans out, you know, shoot some deer, shoot whatever it is that they have on their ranch, but they just want to help support veterans. And that's what was great. I never thought that something like that, as significant as SCI is, to be able to open their doors to us, because they gave us 4 full passes, man, for the entire weekend. And shout out to SCI for the things that they did for Honor Tribe Outdoors, dude. It is just absolutely awesome that they opened the doors. They gave us this opportunity to meet these connections and meet with these people. And now we've got probably 15, maybe 20 more ranches that have invited us out this next year, man, to get veterans out. So it's exciting, kind of scary at the same time. But you know what drives me is that there's a little bit of fear with it, but you don't know what's beyond that door and what might be laying in wait for you, you know, in the next iteration of this process, man. So it's been exciting, you know. It's been taxing, you know, mentally and financially a little bit, you know, but it's for the right cause, man. The mission is pure in our thought process. You know, we want to take care of each other because we're the only ones that are going to take care of our brothers and sister veterans, man. Because the government's not going to do it, and nobody else is going to do it for us, man. So we're rolling, man.
No, it's good shit. And so just let me give you an example. So there's a nonprofit that they weren't my direct partner, but one of their people was, and that guy got burned out, and so he had to move on to some other stuff. But just for an example, a nonprofit that helps veterans sent me 50 people, 50 veterans, and those 50 veterans are now 100% on the disability pay chart, which means that they now have received their $3 million minimum, and that just easy math is $160 million that I've been able to deliver to just 50 people. So when you just said, hey, 40 people times 3 million minimum, it's fucking life changing, man. Life changing. And there's so many veterans out there who, like you just said, only veterans know veterans. Only veterans will take care of veterans. And especially the truthful ones. You know, there's good and bad people in every ecosystem, but somebody's out there going to poo-poo on you. People are going to do that. So people are going to naysay. Who gives a fuck? Haters got to hate. They got to do what they do. But for us people who are doing good things, again, that's why I'm doing the podcast, to be able to say, hey, you know what? On our new website that we're building out right now, it'll be up in about a week or two. I definitely want to have all the stuff that Furman's doing on my website. I want to have everything that I'm doing on Furman's website, to be able to say, these are people who have proven themselves. These are the fucking, here's a small boat crew who's going to fucking take care of you and make sure you're squared away. And also be a safety net, so that if something happens, like if you're driving to the airport and you get a flat tire, call Albert, you know, hey, Albert, I got a flat tire in my life. Help me. You know, I just moved. And what does that mean? I'm now living in Texas, or I just got this percentage, or this new idea. How do I get that going? Who do I need to talk to? And I can say, well, shit, do you know about Furman? Because again, I zoom in and zoom out. I can't move numbers around in my head, but I can memorize things, and I memorize people, and I can go, all right, I know where Furman is. I know what he's up to. I know what my other podcast guests are doing and what they're up to and where they are, and in space and time as well. And I can go, shit, man, there's some badass podcast people that I've interviewed who are doing amazingly awesome stuff, and they're already doing it. They've already proven themselves. They've got money to do it, and they've got connections to make even more money, because although money is not real to me, other than it just helps me say yes to things faster. It's way easier to say yes to a hog hunt from helicopters in Texas if you've got tens of thousands of dollars in the bank account, or hundreds of thousands, or $1 million. It's a hell of a lot easier to say that. And there's some well-to-do veterans out there that have already made a lot of money, and I want to make sure that they know about what Furman's doing and what my other connections are doing, so they can funnel that money the right way. Because one of the things I'll tell you is, one of my clients, she, just for an example, she didn't go to the Air Force Academy in Colorado, but she works there. And when she got her 100%, when she got her money in her pocket, she said, Albert, I feel bad. She said, I see my bank account now and I feel bad. And I was like, okay, talk to me. Tell me why you feel bad. And she's like, well, I feel like I'm getting this money for nothing. You know, there are people out there with missing limbs. There's people out there with you know, emotional stresses and stuff. And I said, well, the thing is, you're getting paid for your mileage. You're getting paid for the service that you've created. So I said, let me dumb that down a little better, because the government tries to over dramatize shit that doesn't need drama, and they try to under drama things that do need drama. Furman and I have both been to combat. We've been to war, you know, or whatever. And other people haven't. And the government tries to say, oh, how many times you've been deployed? It's not deployment. It's fucking war, people. All right. So let me just tell you, the blood and guts in the back of my aircraft, I know what the fuck we've been through. So, and the government tries to negatively say that over the past 20 something years, all of us GWAT era guys are somehow not what we truthfully are. And they try to paint us as being like supervillains when we're actually superheroes. So when you say to Furman and me that, hey man, your hair is blue. No, it's not. It just rolls off of us that fast. If they say, hey, you're a supervillain, you're just kind of like patting them on the head going, yeah, go fuck yourself. I'm not a supervillain. I'm a superhero. I know who the fuck I am. I know what I've done. I know where my heart is. And another F in my book is faith. So I know where my faith stands. And I'm not perfect, but every day I wake up put my armor on and I get fucking going. And that's why I'm glad that Furman does the same. And it's those little steps. But we want to do those things quickly. So for the people out there hearing this, or share this with people out there who've got money to move around, and get people in contact with me and Furman, and let's do good things, because there's so many negatives out there. There's so many bullshit, let's say tier 3. There's so much white noise at the lowest levels of government this or helping veterans that, benefits, that kind of crap. There's good people in those systems, but the system is so bad, it's so broken. And those good people get burnt out fast. That's why I've had many clients who come to me from those systems and go, hey man, I was the CEO of this thing and that organization, and now I'm going to work with you because Albert, you're the guy that gets shit done. And I just get the fucking shit done. So anyway, point back to, if you feel like you're spinning your wheels and you need to go to the more major leagues, tier 2, tier 1, do it. Connect with people like me and Furman, and we'll be like, hey, yeah, let me support you up the channel and get you further up in the tier system, because that's where the real good people are, and getting at least shit done that Furman and I are getting done. Because yeah, we'll help you get off the ground a hell of a lot faster and get you connected. And going back to my first story of hearing somebody older say, oh, well, yeah, here in about 5 or 10 years, I'll be able to help veterans. And I'm just like, 5 or 10 years, or the woman feeling bad because she's making money that was hers already. And I said, well, I don't give a shit what you do with your money. Donate it. Or when I hear somebody donating money to a nonprofit that does dog shit work, oh, it's helping veterans. Is it? I mean, follow your money, folks. I'm not your mom. I can't tell you what to do. At least follow your money. Are they truly doing good things? There are many nonprofits out there who do all kinds of crap, and probably some that do, I don't say probably, plenty of them who do illegal shit, and they end up getting audited and stuff, and the government finds out. And then 5-10 years later, you find out it's a giant fucking lawsuit. So know where your money goes. Be in charge of your own money. Donate directly to Furman's causes. I'm a for-profit, so don't try to donate to me. There's ways of paying me to help you do good things. If you want to talk offline, we can talk offline. But yeah, help veterans now. That's all I can do, is truthfully help veterans now. But
100%.
I told you, man, 2 hours start going by fast. We're already in our first hour's done. We're about an hour and a quarter into it. Let's see what else we got going on. What are the opportunities out there for us to do partnerships? What have you got? Where are you? What do you need? Like, no shit assessments of what do you need? Who do you want to help? You said you helped 40 veterans. I know you probably want to help 140 veterans tomorrow, but how do we take those small steps to get that done?
If we look at it the right way, so we've got some fundraisers coming up. You know, I'm building a couple guns back here. I don't know if you see the mess behind my shoulder here. Building a couple ARs. I've got a guy that does some AR lowers and things like that, that's putting our logo on a couple ARs. So we've got some folks that have donated some parts, you know, some quality barrels, some quality material for me to do those things. But if we could help, you know, at least that many veterans again, you know, I would love to say shooting for the stars, doing 150 veterans this year. But I know what it costed us last year, right? So I know what it costed Brad and I coming out of pocket to support this process. And we have to kind of slowly, the proper word is scale it the right way, right? You know, if you're going to scale, you scale too fast, you're going to fall flat on your face. So scaling it the right way is what we're hoping for. And I will use this shameless moment opportunity to plug that 100% of every donation we received last year went right back to every veteran that we supported last year. We did get quite a few in-kind donations last year. We got deer blinds, we got deer feeders. We had people donate $5,000 to feed us, man, just to be able to get some spots so that when we had veterans out, we had feet on the ground so that we can get them an opportunity to shoot their first deer. But if it were up to me, you know, like you said, man, I'd love to do 150 veterans. I'd love to look at trying to keep that same amount of money that we did get come in to go to support that 150 veterans. And that's where kind of what we're looking at this point. You know, we've got a lot of great ideas on what we're hoping to be able to do on March Ranch. But what our true need is, honestly, is to make sure that these veterans don't cost any money coming when they come out to the ranch. If they come to Louisiana, you know, we'll try to raise some money so that we can pay their gas mileage. pay for their flights or whatever to come down. We've got lodging in San Angelo. We've got lodging here at my home in Louisiana. We've got lodging in Colorado. So we don't have to cover too many of those costs. And I enjoy cooking as it is. I'll fire up the smoker, throw something on the smoker to feed those guys or gals whenever they're coming out. But that's our largest cost, to be honest with you, at this point, is getting veterans from other places to be able to come, to be able to spend some time together so that we can talk about the things that you mentioned. I don't know how many veterans, countless veterans that we supported last year are like, man, just talking about, hey, what's your VA rating? How much time did you spend getting that connection, building the rapport with each other to understand where we've all come from, the things that we've done. But I'd probably venture to say, man, 80 to 90% of them, 20, 30, 40% from the VA. And I'm like, why? Why is it so low? Why are you not looking at the other viable options and opportunities that are out there because of the time that you've spent serving our country, whether deployed, whether you didn't,
just service. Your money created that service. Yeah, your service created that money. That's what it's there for.
Absolutely. So you start peeling the layers back like an onion, right? Like what Shrek said. Peel the layers back of the onion, man. The deeper you get into it, the more shit you find out. And a lot of times, man, it's fuck, dude. I'm mostly whole. I'm mostly capable. I'm mostly able to continue to live my life like normal. But like you said, brother, war is war. And what people don't understand, what government, what civilians are that never been in war will understand, is that's going to live with you till the day that you die. But if you use that as your motivation, in my opinion, the times, the things that you've done, and living life to honor those that gave their lives for us in war is what's driving what we do.
Hey, let's play a game. I've never done this before. Let's play a game. So if Congress and Senate, let's wrap that all into one word. If Congress can sit around and vote for their own paycheck, time off, lifelong benefits, medical care, location, property taxes, school shit for their kids, right? So they were voted in to be the voice of the people. Why do they get to do that? Why do they get to do that? So let me put a pin in it. Why do they get to do that? I don't want to say rhetorical question, but think about that. A little thought provoker. But shouldn't veterans be able to do that thing? Like, hey, I served, therefore I have voting rights to this country. Think about it that way, right? Like, both Furman and I are from the 90s. Joined in the 90s, and I had a roommate who is from Bulgaria. And it is this way. If you want to be an American citizen, all you have to do is serve, and there for a certain period of time, and there's paperwork and all that kind of stuff, as there usually is, and it should be. Wouldn't it be great if we created the American system to where when you're a veteran, when you serve your country, and it could be service through military, it could be service through faith or other things, education systems, all those things that are now broken. Wouldn't it be great to be able like, hey man, you get fucking voting rights not necessarily voting, but like you get weight and power for the country. So, and let's say it doesn't matter if you're a 3-star general or whatever. It's, hey, you served, and however long you served and whatever you did the more you did, the more voting power you've got. So like, I don't know. I mean, it's just like any company, right? I mean, America is a company, if you want to call it that, because it doesn't matter the borders. I mean, no shit, if there was a zombie apocalypse, and if you remember the movie Waterworld, if the world looked like Waterworld, the American dream would still be a thing. It would just be on a boat somewhere, and we'd be like, hey, well, now this is the new America, and we're on some giant cruise ship that's old, and well, the more you serve, the more you got, let's say, voting right, or the more your vote counts, or some shit like that. You know what I mean? Like, why the fuck not? What do you think about that, Furman? Can we take over the world that way?
Man, you make a great point, because my wife and I discuss this topic all the time. And first and foremost, man, we need to set some term limits on these lifelong politicians, man, that are doing absolutely no good for our country, no good for their constituents, and no good for our veterans in this country. Now, there are some, don't get me wrong, but we need to get something. We need to take back our governmental system in the right way. And I think that first step would be establishing term limits for all. But there should be no reason why the government shutdown should quickly take benefits away from veterans, but still pay congressmen and senators their benefits when they decide to shut the government down, man. That is the absolute furthest thing from what a leader should be looking at, as far as I'm concerned. You know,
like you said, mission first, people always.
Absolutely.
Unless it's the government, then go fuck yourself. And I'm gonna eat lickies and chewies, and here's all my like, fuck, man. Yeah, I know Furman and I, we both have been through some drawdowns, drawbacks, and just, I think honestly that's the legit World War III within the American system, is that our government turned against us as veterans, and they said, hey, well, we didn't have enough people from, let's say, Vietnam. There are a lot of people who died from Vietnam, and they said, you know, what's a great way to probably kill veterans is just get them to fucking go away and kill themselves or drink themselves to death or that kind of stuff, and let's hide a bunch of shit from them, their money and their livelihood, and fucked up their souls. And like my family and I were talking about this the other day. My wife likes the shows about vampires and stuff, and there's a funny show, and one of them has a vampire who's like a what would you call it, like a emotional vampire, emotional draining. And so the guy will just walk into a room and just start talking about, oh, my stomach hurts, oh, my head hurts, and it just starts draining people. Everybody in the room just kind of goes, oh my God, this guy's here. And he's just over there laughing at the camera because he's like, that's what he does. He's an emotional vampire. And that's what our government does. And like Furman said, we know the guy, and this brings me to a point that I bring up every podcast because I can't fucking help it, that I was an officer. So I raised my right hand to the Constitution, not to a person. So again, the American dream is a castle without borders. I know it does have borders right now, but if guys like Furman and I are the gatekeepers and we're the ones who know better, when do we do better? And Furman said, we take back our government. That means we've already lost it. So at what point, now that we know that, we have to be able to shoot, maybe communicate, folks. So when there is a breach in the wire and you're on watch, what do? Right? We've got general orders for a fucking reason. Hey man, there's a breach on my sector. Fucking bring backup. Well, now I'm back up to Furman. Furman's back up to me, and all our inner circles can go, okay, let's plug that gap. Let's make sure that we've got all the bad people outside the wire and or dead or whatever, and that we don't let that happen again. Let's make this infrastructure stronger and that kind of thing. And I think it's twofold, threefold maybe. The past 20 plus years have created guys like me and Furman who know how to do a lot of shit, and starting out with like water purification. So we're going to outlive a lot of people who have done horrible shit to us, because we know where water and food are and how to procure those. And we could lick out of a mud puddle for 2 weeks and let everybody else, zombie apocalypse or whatever. But anyhow, we don't want that to happen. We know how to survive that. But how do we now take back what is truthfully ours in a nice, I won't say nice, peaceful way, but at what point does that tipping point go, okay, now we're fucked? Because if we're only letting more and more people in the southern border, and God knows who the fuck they are, and already how many bridges were hit the other day in one fucking day?
3, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's a little suspect, isn't it? Right? So over the past 20 years, we've got our blades, the tip of the spear has been sharpened. We can do more shit. We can see in the dark, whereas when Furman and I joined the military, a tourniquet was a stick and a fucking piece of cloth, right? Right now it's an Israeli whatever the fuck. Now you can do laser surgery out there in the middle of the dirt. And but anyway, so we've got people like us who are sharper than ever. We've got way more skills and ability. We can shoot, we communicate like we're doing right now. But then we've had people who've done negative shit to us, and now we're going full circle of that. We are where we are now after 20 something years of this shit going, what's our next move? Because evil is real. If evil is real, then that means good is real. So I'm a faith believer. So I believe in Jesus and God, and I know what I know, and you can't buy me off, and you can't buy my soul. Not for sale, brother. So where does that bring us? So when the zombie apocalypse happens, I mean, I hope that things work out well for a lot of people out there. I don't know. What are your thoughts on what I've said thus far? Where do we take that?
You know, it's a great question and very thought provoking. I mean, I'm still kind of in the thought process of considering trying to get involved in local government in some capacity, right? But I truly feel like I would be wasting away spending my time if I did get into local politics, because this system is so broken. you know it's not about your beliefs, it's not about what's right for the people, it's now about who's got the most money, who's the biggest lobbyist that's taking care of you and your particular, your run for office in whatever capacity there is. It's not so much about the issues anymore, it's about who's got the biggest checkbook to get you to a point that they can use you as a puppet. And that's my bigger concern about getting into politics, to be honest with you. I mean, is there a right answer? It's hard to really say, man. I mean, when we're now kind of almost involved in two war fronts to an extent, at a distance, are we doing the right thing for the American people by spreading ourselves to a point where we're truly being invaded? I don't give a shit what anybody says.
Yeah.
We're being invaded right now, and that's really scary.
Invaded. Yeah, the gates wide ass open. They're walking
It's
right,
really
right
scary
in,
for my
running them.
grandkids. It's really scary for my aging parents to be, to know that they're so quickly to disperse these people using our money to get them into other areas to do whatever it is that they're thinking about doing. Our thought process, our brother's thought process is, bring it the fuck on, man. But to what extent? Do we want to be in that situation? Should we need to be put in that situation? Absolutely not. If our governmental appointed folks were doing their job, they would consider that before they considered their lobbyist paychecks that are keeping them in office. Yeah, that's a shit topic, man. It's a terrible thing to consider, for your family, for mine, for what we have going on right now. To think that how such an open border is so widely acceptable at this point.
It's accepted by the wrong people, but I'll say it this way too. That's the reason why that in part of my book stuff with helping you guys out is you have to be able to get past yourself of being I know we're all silent professionals, and another F in there is talking about falling. Don't fall into the trap of what most of us do, is because now we're talking about AI and things 5, 10, 15 years ago would move slower, 20 years ago, 30 years ago would move slower. In the 90s, things were still fax machines and the internet was still new to people and that kind of thing. But now things happen so quickly that the big governments or entities out there that are gigantic, they can now pivot faster because they want to. And mostly the power means negative for people like me and Berman and the people who we're trying to serve and save and that kind of thing. So, don't fall into the trap of being, well, I'm going to take the next 5, 10, 20 years to figure out my thing, and I'm going to go sit in the woods and be off the grid. Well, then you're going to wake up one day and some rich billionaire's got your property and he's coming on and with a fucking flamethrower that is way bigger than you can handle, or he'll fucking drone your ass from far away. Like, people can drone people now. I saw a live video where a dude got fucking droned over in some little bitty drone, and it was chasing the dude around over in like fucking Ukraine or some shit like that. So the technology is there, folks. If you don't think it is, go to an aviation show or special operations show. Go to Quad A. They're having Quad A this month actually in Denver. So if you want to go watch that, go to Quad A, learn about that shit. Quad A usually is in Nashville every year, but they're out in Denver this time, so I won't be there. But there's a lot of drone people out there who know how to do shit from their phone on their ass. There could be cartoons in the background, and they're sending a fucking kill shot to some dude, and then they'll go right back to cartoons. That's how assassin level this shit is right now. And I got a lot of clients who are in cybersecurity. A lot of Marines are now cybersecurity dudes and IT and stuff. When I start talking about this, they just go, oh my God. And they're the ones that give me a bunch of this weird ass ideas. But I've legit seen somebody get fucking droned the other day. And that's just something that can happen. So if you think you're going to be able to have your own little small thing off the grid, and your own little piece of the world, know that somebody worth millions of dollars, billions of dollars is going to come in there and just bulldoze your ass. Just like many movies have been about. They make those kinds of movies and drama because they're just preparing you for what's really coming. And it's unfortunate, but like we have to be able to hopefully now do these podcasts and whatever it is, run for government or just get your fucking face out there. Like the reason why, and there's a reason to pay people who are above you to make you think about no shit what's actually happening. So I pay my book guy that's above me. I pay my other YouTube people that are above me, marketers that are above me, because they know what's going on right now in the YouTube universe and that kind of stuff, and they're able to make me think further and faster too, to be able to get out in front of you. And this is a challenge to everybody out there who's listening to this, that you know who Elon Musk is because he's been around doing many gee whiz things, but he's always out there. You know who he is. If I showed you his face, you'd be like, oh, that's fucking Elon, or that's the car guy, or guy who used to have flamethrowers, or that's a dude who wants to try to get out on Mars. You know who the fuck he is. How do you know who he is? Because his face has been out there and he has been out there. He makes videos, or he's always being recorded somehow, by somebody and posted by somebody. So on the daily reg, you're seeing, you know who he is. So going back to Furman's point, you don't have to sit in the foxhole with him for a hog hunt to figure out who the fuck Elon Musk is. You know. So I never like to think of, I now call them mentors, people who I pay. Well, my way of thinking in the past was you can't really pay for mentorship, but now you can, because it's more clear. So whether it's books or YouTube stuff, I follow a lot of people that it takes a lot of effort and energy for, like Furman to do what he's doing. It takes a lot of effort and energy for me to do what I'm doing. And I hope that's why we're doing the things that we're doing. And I hope that you're seeing it as like a mentorship relationship. I'm putting out these breadcrumbs so that you can fucking follow them to success faster. And that, like, you know, maybe you buy something from Elon because you like him. Maybe you buy something from me because you like me. So you don't have to spend an hour or two in a foxhole with me to figure me out, or at an event somewhere, because sometimes that's not exactly possible. And that's what's nice about having a podcast or having a way to sit down with somebody. And especially as my book guy talks about it being, there's one-on-one, but then there's one-to-many. So if you're able to do a podcast or just get your message out there in a webinar or masterminds or whatever it is, get it out there so that people can understand you, because humanity at a basic level has always been trust and performance. Money is fake. Money just makes things happen. So if there were a zombie apocalypse, or if we jumped in our time machine and went back 10,000 years, it's about trust and performance. Does that person, is Furman helping me on a hunt in the Ice Age, and we're chasing an elephant, and he goes fucks and takes a smoke break? You know, I'm like, what the fuck, man? So it's kill time and you're over there smoking. So if you can't trust people and they're not performing, you gotta fucking move on and go find the people that you can trust and perform with. So and just always think about it in that way. Trust and performance. Money just makes things happen. If you're providing a value to yourself and others will see that value. And hopefully you just want to compound that every single day by doing other good things with other good people, and then that just keeps on going. So which does bring us to, I told you, man, 2 hours goes by fast. So now that we're past about an hour and a half of us chatting here, we'll start doing some last closing statements here, because we'll start doing some other things too here in a little bit, which I'll tell you about. But I know that Furman and I have talked pretty significantly for past hour and a half without even scratching the surface of the shit that we've actually got going on. So I want to get in the floor a little bit more, and anything that we haven't been able to talk about, I want you to be able to talk about that. And then we'll do some other closing remarks and some follow-up and follow-through with everybody who's paying attention right now. Go ahead, brother. What else do you think
Cool.
of?
So, first of all, as a veteran entrepreneur, right, that's kind of by looking at how we classify, see ourselves. It's important to understand that there are a lot of programs out there that again, just barely scratching the surface on certain benefits and certain things. But I want to give a shameless plug out to the Oklahoma State University Veteran Entrepreneur Program that I recently attended. And how I found out about this, honestly, is my wife was going through some medical facility over in Mississippi. She went by the transition office, she grabbed a bunch of pamphlets off the wall and brought them home and said, hey, check these out. Maybe there's something in here that might pique your interest. Well, it was this ugly black and orange veteran VEP thing with the symbol on it. Let's see, I have something around here anyway with it. But it talked about those veterans that are interested in starting their own business or being an entrepreneur. You know, what does an entrepreneur mean realistically? It's pain, it's suffering, and you bust your ass for very little money, right? I mean, at the end of the day, because that's probably the most true description I've ever heard anybody say it about being an entrepreneur. Well, this program is great, man. First of all, it's like a 5-week online program. You kind of use a Canvas system to, you know, a higher education service. And then you have an 8 or a 10-day period in which you go and you sit down with everybody else in this particular cohort that you talk about your small business, whether you've established a small business, whether you're a concept small business, or you're just there to learn something about potentially delving into the nonprofit side. In this time, when I actually went to the in-person thing, one, it's all veterans or spouses of veterans that are approved for this program, whether you've transitioned or trying to transition or getting ready to transition. But this cost is covered all by the folks that fund these programs at the Oklahoma State University. The week is a lot of classes. And what I was not expecting was they had a pitch contest for us in this course. They had a competition for those that had established businesses and those that were concepts. And because mine is not functioning as an operable business, so to speak, at this point, I was still classified in the concept side of things. What an amazing experience, man. To be honest with you, to get to be able to stand in front of a group of people that you really don't have any idea who they are, what they can do, and pitch your business idea to them. First was 90 seconds, and then you had a 2-minute pitch contest that went through the process. It's a lot to learn because a lot of people find out very quickly that it's very hard to get in front of people and just talk about something that you believe in, to be able to discuss those things and how it's beneficial to them, you know, on a personal level. So I want to give that shout out to the Oklahoma State University Veteran Entrepreneur Program. Chad Mills is an awesome guy. He actually is a director of the program there. And he does all of this with true desire to help veterans. He's not a veteran himself, but the dude just loves everybody that's come through the program. And anybody that does that, in my eyes, you know, that's another brother of mine, man. You know, somebody that deserves complete respect for the things that him and his team do for us, and that continue to do it for other veterans. So it's a great program. So if they're interested in looking for, you know, this shameless plug, Veterans Entrepreneur Programs. There's one at the University of Chattanooga, Tennessee, one at the University of Florida. There's another one, Oklahoma State University, obviously. And there's a couple of others that are called like VEB, or Veterans Entrepreneur Boot Camps, or something along those lines. But for those that are looking to start that off, man, you know, you want to pass their info on to me. If they reach out to you, send them my way. I'll try to get them connected, help them navigate that process. But this is one of those things, man, that I think, you know, if we've got more vets that are involved in business, man, I think that's another way to kind of get back to where we can circle back to the topic that you mentioned. How do we take these things back? How do we get our country back into the right direction? And I think that's a great way to start looking at it from that perspective. You asked me, what do we need as an organization? We need people support, man. You know, other veterans, looking out for other veterans, people that have an interest and desire to help. It's not so much money. You know, we can always use the money, but we need other volunteers, people to come out to help us. So, you know, the 4 of us that are doing, you know, the operational aspect of this, you know, volunteers are huge for us. And obviously, you know, there's a way that we have implemented to veterans that are wanting to do part of our program, come out, do some hunts, do fishing trips or whatever. But we also want to be sure that we properly vet those that want to volunteer and be a part of our organization, because it's important that we continue to do that outreach. One thing I didn't discuss about Honor Tribe Outdoors is that we have on staff mental health resources, folks that are volunteering their times, a couple PhD mental health specialists that are willing to donate their time when we have our events, so that we have somebody there that can handle professionally, you know, the mental health side of things. Because, you know, that's that's what we're struggling with, still struggling with. You know, we still have our own shit to deal with every day, on top of life, on top of family, on top of finances and things like that. But having that mental health staff really is important for us to have that available to any veterans that come to do our programs. And then it's just the continuity, it's the constant follow on aspect. You know, once you come and be a part of our organization, we're a family. We're going to talk regularly. We're going to have group chats. We're going to have group, fuck offs and stuff like that. Because people don't understand about us is that we're really mentally fucked up being veterans.
Yeah.
And it's in a good way.
Best of ways.
I say that the best of ways because it's humorous to us. We can laugh at things that the average person wouldn't be able to laugh at, and we can still be, happy to help and support each other, man. So those are the topics that I didn't really get a chance to touch on, and I appreciate you opening that back up for me to be able to get those shameless plugs in there. One for those that are interested in starting businesses, because I think if you didn't know about that organization that does that, maybe that's another way for you to tap into your mentorship and the things that you're doing.
Definitely. Yeah, I need to get in contact with them. So if you've got their links, I'm sure you do. We'll put them in here too. So just email those over to me. And I want to make sure, because as you're telling me about those, I want to connect you guys with, again, there's no direct tie from me to them, but everywarrior.org is a good one. They're out they're in Louisiana as well, up near Shreveport, I believe is where it is, where they're headquartered. And they're the ones who have like probably 50,000 plus veterans and service members who are in a transitional state. So they're either getting out or gotten out, and great connectors there. And I'm trying to get the one of the leaders on my podcast for that too, to be able to talk more about that. But everywarrior.org. And another one that you made me think of, Herman, is there's one that I'm not super connected with, but you need to know about, and that's going to be merging veterans and players.
I'm involved with them. I'm involved with that organization. It's been hard. They do a lot of virtual stuff because they don't have a specific entity here in the Louisiana area. But they're definitely a great organization. And if I get a chance, if we're talking about nonprofit organizations, Operation Pay It Forward, Mike is one of my newfound mentors, and that came through the OSU Veterans Entrepreneur Program. They've been in the space, they've been doing things. They, like us, their focal point is 100% of everything goes back to the veterans and the organization that they're supporting. And another one that I recently connected with is Catch a Lift funding, a Catch a Lift program. I'm still learning. I'm very new into their program. I was recently accepted into their latest veterans program, but it's an 8-week physical program. You kind of get to select what type of physical activities you want to do, whether it be a local gym, it's CrossFit, whatever. They kind of got some dietitians and specialists that help you work out, the right meal plans and programs for you and your personal goals. And then they have like a grant program at the end of the 8 weeks if you get through the process. I don't want to butcher it, so I don't want to speak too much of it. But so far, I'm in week 1, and my goals realistically with them initially were just to get more active, man. Get out, do a little bit more walking, get an extra day more in the gym. Because, fitness is an important factor to the things that we're doing, right? Because if we're not physically capable of supporting our brothers, man, we're not going to be mentally able to help them in that way. So, I think you've hit your few topics which are near and dear to my heart. Family, fitness, finances.
I was gonna say, there's actually 7 parts, by the way. It says 5, but you get 2 for free. So family, fitness, and fast and falling, and
all huge proponents, man. Huge things to be able to understand. And honestly, I'm looking forward to checking out your book, man, because I think it'll help us continue to grow and progress as well in the things that we're doing. So, I didn't want to monopolize time with the nonprofit realm, but man, it's important for us to continue to know that there are other veterans, there are other organizations out there that want to help, want to support. I think it's important that we look at it from the right perspective, though, right? Because there's always going to be those fakes and phonies out there that are looking to try to get something for free as well. So making sure that you vet them the right way and that there's somebody that they're going to be the right type of group and organization to do the right things for the veterans. So,
no, definitely, yeah. And So I said it takes guys like us to be able to communicate that to the people we want to, and give us feedback too, folks. We're happy to hear your experiences, but you know, nothing is going to be perfect. So I tell people all the time, nothing's going to be perfect. I mean, I'm still waiting on a lot of money from the government on certain things, and I've got appeals, and the government's going to tell you no. It's just like I've heard no more than an ugly prostitute. So just letting you know, letting you know, man, it's a part of life. So I think there's too many soft people these days. Even though they're killers, they're like, oh well, everything's been so easy for me because I had a black credit card with the government, and now that I'm out in the civilian world, I'm hearing no a lot. And I'm like, yeah, the government doesn't want to pay you and all that kind of stuff. What do you mean I got to what do you mean I got to do my taxes every year? Oh yeah, that's the thing. So
there's always a yes behind every no. There's always a yes behind every no. It's just about having the ability to tap into either the right person, the right program, the right organization to help that no become a yes, brother.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Well, good stuff, man. So I know we're coming to a close. We'll do a little bit of a closing statement, and we'll go behind the scenes, even though we're still going to be recording, and we'll do some behind the scenes stuff after this, just to give you a little bit more time for us to chat. But to the public side, for the next couple of seconds right now, we're still out in the front, but let's see. So definitely, as I always tell everybody out there, make sure so we're updating and upgrading our system too. So we're pivoting over from WordPress website over to a new version that's going to offer a lot more stuff a lot more solutions for my clients and veterans that are out there, and helping me shoot, move, communicate faster. So just want to let everybody know. But my website is thefulfilledveteranproject.com. And I, like Furman talked about, that I do have my book and book series going on right now. So I do interviews for the books. For one of my books that I did some, interviewed almost 100. It was like 97 veteran business owners. And when you interview people that are business owners, veteran, oh man, it's life-changing. So I'm not going to interview 100 people for this book. I've interviewed like 5 or 10 is fine. But I've already talked to plenty of other people that say, hey, that's the shit I need to know right now. I need to get into myself later and other kind of thing, but definitely needing to know fast about the $5, way more important. So that's one of my biggest taglines now is fulfilling veterans fast. So very important, fulfilling veterans fast. So let's see what else I want to plug here. So we have a new website coming out, book stuff's coming out, YouTube channel. We're on Rumble as well, just so that we don't get kicked off YouTube. If you want to donate to Furman and all his stuff, make sure we go to the links there. And I host events every month as well. So I'm hosting something I've hosted every month is a money briefing for veterans, and every veteran's worth $3 to $5 million in your lifetime that Uncle Sam doesn't want you to know about, but I do. If you want to know about that, like I said, my website does currently have that on there. We're making so many updates right now. We're not trying to pretty up the ugly stuff that's old. We're pivoting over to something new. But if you run across any snags, you can put something in the comments below, and my staff and I will respond back to you on where that link is, because we've done that for years that I've done this. I'm also starting now twice a month for veterans who do want to get going on their $5 in their business and grow their business and be better for themselves and others. We're hosting that twice a month. It's a first and third Thursdays. So same thing, just make sure you guys stay connected with me, stay connected with Furman, and make sure you guys are letting us know how things are going for you. And we look forward to doing a lot of hunting and shit together. It's funny, I grew up in Texas, but I never went hunting and things. And we had our own, our cows that we had about at our maximum. We had like, 40 cattle and 20 horses and shit like that.
Okay.
So, but it's funny. I've never been hunting, so I'd love to go hunting on the helicopter hunting from. Hunting hogs out of a helicopter. Fuck yeah, man. So we're trying to get that going, but I'll definitely let you know. But I do have other entities out there too, other nonprofits that are doing trips and things. So anytime I'm hearing about that, I'm always like, make sure we're keeping you guys informed on that. And the goal of ours is to, if you go to entities like Nine Line Apparel, you'll see that they've got partners, and other brand ambassadors and stuff like that. That's what we want to have on our website too, is to be like, hey, here are the people who are so passionate that they sat with me for an hour and a half, 2 hours on a podcast to talk about all the stuff that they're doing. So here's the I don't know, whatever you want to call it, like a how to keep in touch board. Here's all the shit that Furman's doing and how to keep in touch with him and get updates and stuff. So, well, I appreciate Furman you being here today and appreciate all you're doing, man. And we'll see you again here soon, brother.
Yeah, brother. Thanks for the time. I appreciate the invitation. Love the conversation. Love the things you're doing, man. Looking forward to collaborating with you in any way that we can. And we definitely got to get you out to a hunt, man.
Oh yeah.
We will know come August what our needed biological requirements are to remove deer to make sure our herd is healthy. So, just like cattle, man, the right management program, the right sustaining programs is really going to help us build and continue to build, the things that we're hoping to get to and getting to our whitetail mecca, man, for lack of better terms.
Mm-hmm. Well, one of my staffers, Dylan, he knows a lot of people out there. He's out there too. They live out in the south of Houston area, kind of area, but they jump back over into Louisiana to and fro and all that kind of stuff too. So when I mentioned hog hunting months ago, he was like, "What? Hog hunting out of helicopters? Holy shit!" He's an Air Force guy, but we won't hold that against him. But.
Absolutely not.
Yeah. All right, brother. Appreciate you. Well, so we'll bring this to a close. We'll do some behind the scenes stuff with you and I, but yeah, bring it to a close. We'll call that a wrap right now and appreciate everybody. And all right, Jenny. So this is the end of episode 4. We'll see the rest of you guys later. And then we'll cut that there. So we'll give them a big old fat X so they can see that for a couple of seconds there. But all right, brother, let's do some behind the scenes shit.
Yeah, man.
What do you think about that? Give me some feedback.
Dude, that time goes by really quickly, doesn't it? I'm astonished how fast it went through, to be honest with you.
And I was able to sit down the whole time. Now I got to stand up because I'm a stander. So.
Very cool, man. I love the fact that you're not at all afraid to talk about faith. I think that's one of the next steps I really need to build myself into. I'm a Christian. I believe in Jesus just like you do, brother. I think it's important. We've many conversations about this, especially with other veterans, dude, is, when we started moving away from a public education system, being able to be told you can't practice your religious beliefs or your ideals in school, taking the Pledge of Allegiance out of the schools, man, was a huge factor. I think the women's basketball game, LSU and Iowa last night, the LSU team walked off the court during the national anthem. I tell you, man, if there's one thing that fucking angers me, it's that kind of bullshit. These overpaid, overappreciated athletes that are just nothing more than damn entertainers, man, to utilize what we fought for, what we continue to fight for. And again, it's not that we're fighting for this piece of fabric. It's not that we're fighting for this individual. We both swore to defend the Constitution, and the fact that they just continue to disgrace, our country and our ideals as a country and the Constitution in itself is really angering to me, man. It's just, it's angering and disappointing, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah. And it makes me wonder where, now that we're at that tipping point, where do we go from here? Because it would be great to have not just veteran business owners taking over the landscape, but also like I was an elite level gymnast and that kind of thing. My teammate was in the 2000 Olympics, and I always thought that since I missed the Olympics or whatever, that I maybe I did I miss something? But now I look back on it and go, man, because for a while, this was after I got out of the Army in 2000. I was like, man, I've been to Germany, but I didn't go to the fucking Olympics. Did I miss out on something? And then 23 years old, 24 years old, that kind of stuff, and then get a little bit older. But now I look back at 43 going, fuck, man, I've done some amazingly cool shit. If I told you who I talked to just this week, you'd be like, oh my God, that's fucking awesome. So, and I think what's nice is what we should have is I know you've got like, Blue Angels and stuff like that, and they call them the show teams and stuff, and they'll entertain for recruiting purposes and stuff like that. But I think we need to have teams that just show you how fucking badass we are. Like, if you could get a Delta dude or a MARSOC dude to do some QCB as a fucking show of force of like, hey, here's the shit that I know how to do, and 007 into something, and just like I said, just fucking drone snipe some dude from a million miles away, and you're like, fucking hell, man, these dudes are deadly. Because that's what's crazy. We have so highly trained that you and I can close with and destroy the enemy without them even fucking knowing about it.
Yeah.
That we're even on their fucking radar. So so it'd be really cool to be able to show some of that force in a certain positive way. Like, hey, here are us. We're good people. We're superheroes. It's just not that we're like the Delta guys say. I want you to be I don't want you just to be a shooter. I want you to be a thinker who knows how to shoot.
Yep.
Because Delta dudes, they are the best humans on earth. They're all about faith. They're all, if you talk to any of them, and if you hear their longer stories and the protocol to be who they are, to be accepted into Delta, they are no quit. Quitting is not an option. And you can't be bought off. So they have to have that level of faith, that trust. And it's so deeply ingrained in them that they will put themselves through hell. And they do. But the reality is, right now they're now coming to it's kind of like the Vietnam guys who came back to no applause. Well, these cool dudes that have been doing good shit for 20 plus years or whatever, they're coming back to no applause too. It's infuriating. And a lot of my clients will say something like, Albert, great brief, love you, love your stuff, man, appreciate you, but motherfucking government, god damn it. And they'll start going on a tirade of, I didn't fly for 20 something years and these badass missions or whatever, eat this fucking dirt to be shit on by my government. And it's Dan Bongino who says somebody else's line, but he says something like, be the change. So, well, take that moving forward to be the change. So I think there's got to be a way where we've got the Olympics, we've got Special Olympics, maybe we need a veteran Olympics, and a lot of dick jokes and horrible things. And it would have to be like on Rumble because nobody else would play it. But God, that would be fucking awesome. You know?
Yeah.
Hey, maybe that's the thing. So remember when UFC first started? It was like bare knuckle shit, and it had to start out in Colorado because of how no fucking rules. And then so I think what we could do is have a veteran style, I don't call it UFC, I don't know what the fuck we call it, but it's like, here's the shit we can do. Look what I can do. Or maybe call it hold my beer, right? Maybe that's what it is. Hold my beer. So, and just see what the fuck the amazing shit that we're able to do. Like I could do some cool shit in helicopters that I never thought was possible, and I've done it, and that would be pretty cool. Because the crazy thing is too, the people don't realize this. Most of the cool shit that humans have seen us do on video is in the middle of the day because they don't see the shit that we've done at night.
Exactly.
So
absolutely.
Imagine the shit that we can do at night and it's somehow filmed appropriately and put into an appropriate area. I think that'd be awesome. So just saying, hold my beer, right?
That would be pretty cool, man, to be honest with you. And you know, I mean, we've talked about this. So one of the things we're hoping to try to do out on the ranch, and we're still slowly building the right relationship with the ranch to give them the ability to continue to support us, is we want to build the ability to do like some shoot, move, communicate shit on this 9,000 acres, man. You know, the topography there is insane. You know, we've got some pretty good, Texas hills, we're at that further northern part of the Texas hill country. We'd like to put a long range on there to do some long range shooting, but also be able to do like some competition style stuff, right? For some of us older dudes that still might be able to move a little bit, still be able to shoot and communicate, but there's nothing more exciting, or I guess, gets you wound up as far as I'm concerned, man, is just have an objective from point A to point B where you get to shoot, you can communicate, you've got to avoid a few things like rattlesnakes and hogs and shit like that, as you're on the ranch or whatever. But I think that would be, I like the hold my beer idea. Watch this, check this shit out. Let me shoot at 1,000 yards and let me close that 1,000 yards through some terrain and hit these different objectives with, my AR or my pistol or both, kind of thing.
So I don't care. We talked about sports, and I don't care much about sports. Like I'll watch certain things. Like last night I was watching Moneyball because I think it's neat that somebody can take something and make it math. Like I even said this to a client of mine today. Math does not have emotion, but it creates emotion. So I could have a baseball card, right? A hold my beer baseball card, and on the front of it's my little picture, and on the back of it's my stats. You know what I mean? And you have yours and all that kind of stuff, and just like the trading cards from like the, what do you call those, like Wolverine and shit like that, different strength levels and what kind of psycho things do you have? Can you move things with your mind? Well, that may be a little weak, but do you fly? Do you have superhuman strength? Do you light up a room or whatever it is? What's your superpower? That kind of stuff. And just have like these 5 different levels of those. And we need to have veteran baseball cards. We need our heroes need to be baseball card or need to be veterans who have their own baseball card. Like,
absolutely.
Ben Franklin and that kind of stuff. Those guys need to have their baseball card, and Furman and other badasses out there need to have their own baseball card. So maybe that's my $1 billion idea that I've come up with, and I need to just put some fucking action to it somehow to be able to be like, hey, here are our heroes out there, and here's what they can do, and that kind of thing. But that's the funny part, right? We're such silent professionals. We don't want that level of like OPSEC shit of somebody to come to my house and try to test this theory, But we have cooking shows, right? There's so many fucking cooking shows out there. You got Top Chef, I'm a fan of, and all these other kind of things. And you're probably like me. I know you talked about smoking meats and stuff like that. Like, man, I've got the whole setup out back. And I think once you get in your mid 30s, you get into one of several things. And my thing is getting into cooking and smoking meats and stuff like that. So actually, I'm going to go downstairs here in a few minutes and eat a filet that I made yesterday or day before over the weekend. But just there's ways of if there's so many different cooking shows out there, I think there's got to be a way to have like these badass veterans who know how to do shit, or service people who know how to do shit. So like being able to showcase their service and put that in some kind of baseball format. So
dude, I love it, man, because we were talking about how do we incorporate, like, you go out, maybe shoot a hog or shoot a javelina, shoot a rabbit or something like that during this during this shoot, move, communicate thing. But then you got to come back and make it edible, whether it be the smoker or, whatever the case is, man, that whole thought process. Because I, like you, man, I love the cooking shows. I love Meat Eater also. I've actually reached out to him. I've got a couple of responses from him. Just haven't had a chance to get him out to the ranch at this point. But I'm hoping that's going to be coming, because the dude does some cool stuff, man. I mean, he's got a cool cookbook. Maybe that's something else that we can kind of look at too, fucking some wild game recipes through, through our organization, between it be alligator, rabbit, deer, hog, whatever the case is that we might be able to harvest. And that's not even talking about like the fishing trips that we've got coming up here, to be able to do some cool cooking shit with that sort of stuff, Maybe that's, I'm going to have to jot that idea down, man, thinking about that as a potential opportunity to generate some other revenue streams for the organization.
Definitely. Yeah. And more attention to the good stuff. Right. So
absolutely.
Yeah, that'd be super, super cool. Cause even let's say you got in these cooking shows, you got the competition last, usually they'll record it over a couple of days, right? And then it gets spanned out over several weeks worth. And what's funny is now you've got all the same people are on all the same shows. So you've got 20 years, whatever, 20 year season 21 or something of 21 or 22 of Top Chef. And you got things like what's that I was watching the other day? TOC Tournament of Champions. So those guys, they're in year number 5 now. And it's always the same shit, same people coming back. But then even year 1 was like, holy crap, you got amazing people that are part of it, amazing judges, all that kind of stuff. So it'd be awesome to have this hold my beer thing and it just be able to be like, hey, here's here's some badasses that are judged by other badasses in some way, So
Yeah.
and then even the judges could get involved and do some shit too. But like you said, it is survival. So not just go out there and shoot something and right between the eyes or right in the heart or whatever, but bring it back and be able to, like you said, make it edible. Bring it back and show me some make some fajitas. So show me how to make some fajitas off that thing. But yeah, that'd be, oh my God, man, that'd be super awesome. So, and get your families involved and shit like that too. So I think we're on to something. We're on to something.
Absolutely.
And there's one of my guys that I recorded for my other book interview. I interviewed him a couple years ago, but he's a veteran that wants to do. Oh man, I just ran into a documentary guy, so I just thought of that. So I'll have Jenny, make sure Rachel reaches out to my documentary guy and let's talk to him about something. But there's a veteran that I interviewed a couple years ago, and he's a filmmaker. So he says he wants to be like the Spielberg for veterans. I was like, fuck yeah, man. So we could probably reach back out to him. I think he was in Savannah or something like that. So see what he's up to. But I mean, that's what's crazy. I've got 2 GoPros, so you know this. Those motherfuckers are everywhere. When I flew umpteen fucking years ago, they had just started coming out. So there was multiple things, not just GoPro, but other stuff, helmet cameras, things like that. They were way worse off, but now we've got GoPros. I got 2 of them downstairs. We do all kinds of shit with those. So,
dude, I hate to say it. I have a GoPro, and it was like the version 9 or 10 or some shit like that. That thing's never even come out of the fucking box, dude.
Right.
I mean, I'm such an old head when it comes to technology. Like I had to have my wife show me how to use Zoom not too long ago. But we did like telephone checks during COVID shutdown. While I was still active duty. And it was me and the colonel that were the only 2 that were working every single day during the whole bullshit shutdown stuff. Well, all my Marines were growing beards and growing their hair long and getting fucked up by 10 o'clock in the morning every day. But it's an evolutionary thing, right? Understanding, knowing, learning different things. And that's why I'm taking college classes, trying to learn, different things about technology, because we don't have a large enough pool yet to be able to be like, hey, dude, I have this camera. How do we run it? How do we set it up to be able to record these things, to be able to then go back to, we get it recorded or we'll take some photos of it. But then how do we put it all together, right? To make it into something where we can start advertising it, whether it be our website or building our own YouTube channel or whatever the case may be when it comes to those certain things, because we haven't figured out quite yet how to get our story out there, whether it be the website or our social medias and things, outside of me going and being, let me type this thing out real quick.
I love your head back in there.
post it to Facebook or Instagram or whatever the case is, because that's the growing pains of this process, because we did some really cool stuff. We just didn't quite put it all together so people can see our story this next year. And that's what I'm hoping to build out this year is build the story the right way, man.
Jenny, make sure we get Furman in contact with Trevor and his team on book stuff. And because these guys are all marketers too. So they know how to do the funnels and get people in there faster. Because they talk about that a lot. And make sure, Jenny, we get Furman connected with Evan's team as well. Those are 2 people that I pay to do stuff. And Evan's team, by the way, is so Evan Carmichael. I'm his client. So if you look him up on YouTube, he is the YouTube guy, and he's been doing, I don't call him long form, but more educational information on YouTube before even YouTube did it that way. And he's so good at helping folks get their word out there that even YouTube reached out and did a case study on him, going, "Hey, you use our platform, our tool so well. What do you do?" And he backs everything up with data, and we like that, because you're like, okay, does it work? Does it work quickly? And it is all about doing things quickly and getting it done the right way, and know that, okay, what do you want to get as an outcome? Well, you have to be able to declare something. You have to be able to document it. So make sure, Furman, that you're always, anytime you're doing something, I'm doing the same damn thing. That's why I'm here now, is be able to, most of us aren't camera shy, but we're not camera hogs either, right? Yep. So knowing that, And knowing that you're trying to reach people, you have to be out there doing something. And like you said, you've already proven yourself. You've proven the concept. Now you're just trying to go, okay, well, we did great things with 40 people. Now we're trying to get 40 people per month or whatever it is. And just let people know that, hey, we did awesome shit. Go to our website or whatever it is. Go to our Facebook page or LinkedIn. Just any kind of central source that they can get some further information and keep in contact with you. And then the cool thing about right now, and I'll say it as opposed to maybe going to college further, there's so many ways of, let's say, hire somebody to mow your yard, hire someone to do your dishes, hire somebody to do your, like I've got Jenny here who does my production and marketing. So hire somebody that's internal, hire somebody that's external, so you can get things done faster. So those are all things I take people through on the $5 journey to get them fulfilled fast, right? So you just have to. You have to. That's the world we live in. Now you can get on AI and tell it to do something. Hey, write me a, let's say you're trying to do some kind of business format, like for your company. Hey, write me a script that I can put up on YouTube that would talk about a hunt that I want to do in this location at this time. And AI will punch that fucking thing out in front of you. And then you're like, holy crap, that's something. That's either stupid that I didn't know that, or man, that's creepy, and I don't know. So either you just take it as you should. But
bro, they did a very brief intro at the in-course program at OSU a few weeks ago that discussed AI, and they just barely scratched the fucking surface of it, man. To be honest with you, just kind of said, hey, this is what it can do, this is what it can generate, and they used my business concept as an idea, and it was like, give me the top 5 discussion topics that I should be discussing with people when it comes to eating natural beef versus store-bought beef. And it spit out this thing, and I was like, holy shit.
Yeah. I did the same thing the other day with, like, hey, tell me some nonprofit organizations out there working with special operators. And it was like Green Beret Foundation, all that kind of stuff. So crazy.
Yeah, I'm astonished at what that thing can do in such a short amount of time. Because
honestly, it's like a GPS these days. You and I know real maps, and that's what I try to tell my staff. I'm like, hey, we need to use this amazing technology to do what we're trying to do better, faster. Because it's just like when a GPS came out. Okay, I know the old school way of doing it by the map, but you need to be able to go boop boop beep boop boop and get fucking where you need to go. So
yeah.
If I hold a map up in front of my son, he's lost. But if I say, hey, go pick my laundry up at such and such o'clock, and I text him a place to go, or he'll look it up on his own app, and he'll go get something at the right time. And so all you gotta do is just make it easier for people to get shit done.
Dude, I have an atlas in my wife's car and in my car, because if fucking GPS goes down or whatever bullshit happens, you got to still know if you're on the road, because we do spend a lot of time on the road, like my wife's on the road today going to Oklahoma, and Tulsa this week. In a couple of weeks, I'll be heading back to Texas. I've got some veterans coming out to do some turkey hunting out on the ranch. I'll kind of give you my schedule when I send you, do a follow-up, let you know kind of what I'm going to be doing out there, how long I'll be out there. If you have some time to come out, you want to check out the ranch, kind of show you around, show you where we are, get an idea of what we're doing out there, and then see how we can collaborate on something, man. Maybe we do one of your shows out there in the fucking when it's not so hot and we're not going to be fucking dying from the heat of 110 degrees on a hot summer day or some shit like that,
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we're looking to do a lot more stuff like that and be more intentional, and so yeah, definitely. All right, brother, I'll let you get back to your day, but yeah, definitely. My staff will put you on an automatic list too. We'll send out some emails to you and some follow up, and make sure that we're on top of mind for you and the people that you're helping out there. And just drive traffic to my website. My new website will have some partnerships and stuff. So you and I would say, let me have you get on my calendar. My calendar on Jenny will share it with you here shortly in a follow up email. But I'll have you get on my $5 calendar, so you and I can talk about how we can partner and what that looks like. And like I said, we've already talked about let's do some planning shit so we can do more faster and get on the right page for that. And like you said, also too, since you're a veteran, you qualify for a lot of money that you don't know about. Even if you think you're already, I'm 100%, I'm good. Every time I brief a veteran, they go, "Oh my God, Albert, I didn't know. I didn't. Oh, that's fine. Yes, let's go get it." Okay, everybody, they all say it. So yeah.
Yeah, I definitely want to try to get with you. You mentioned about helping my wife through this medical process because I mean,
I can too. Yeah.
you've been married for a little while, so you know that if you tell your wife something, she's going to hear it differently than if it came from somebody else, right? So, and that's kind of where I'm at. You know, I kind of went through the process during COVID shutdown because I had my hip replacement and I couldn't PT or whatever. So I went through the PEB process, and then because of COVID, it just drug out everything. 2-3 years down the road, or however long it went down, and got kicked down the road. But she'll definitely hear it differently coming from you than if it's me, because she's still like, you still talk to me like you're a master guns, that you're still wearing the uniform. I'm like, I'm sorry, that's who I am when I start talking about shit. I get animated, I get excited, and my inflection might piss her off at some point, but the more that she can get from somebody else seeing it differently or in a different tone, probably will be much easier to accept than coming from me and be like, just fucking do it, sort of thing.
Got the rich hand out, right? Look, lady, all you gotta do is go from here to here to here, and you'll be good. Exactly. Yeah, no, that's good. I'll be able to take care of it too.
So I owe you a couple things. I'll get you the Veterans Entrepreneur Program stuff. I'll get you all of their links so that you have that. And what was the other thing? Let's see.
Yes, any links that you got, whether we talked about them today or not, just email them over to me so we can get that to our production team in Nashville, and they'll gee whiz all that stuff and put it in different little places on the screen as we're chatting about it. They'll put it in the description, links below, and all that kind of jazz too. And just jump back on my calendar. I've got 2 main calendars, and so Jenny will send you an email about that just directly for you and your wife. You'll see there's veteran money stuff that you earn through your service, and then there's all the other $5 and many other things I talk about. So
gotcha. Well, just for you, if you send me a good address, I'll get you some of our cool swag, get you some stickers. I got some shirts and some hats and stuff like that for you.
Oh, do you have a machete?
Do I have a machete?
Yeah, I've got a machete.
The funny thing is, my call sign was Machete.
Oh, yeah,
I was over in Afghanistan. Yeah, so
cool.
I never actually carried a machete, but for whatever reason, one of my guys thought, he's like, "You look like Danny Trejo and Machete, so we're gonna call you Machete." So that's where I got my call sign from during my deployments during most of those.
Now you need a tattoo, right? You gotta get that on there.
Yeah, I'm working on that. So I got my first finally below the sleeves when I retired. Obviously, it's the organizational tattoo, which there's more to come, eventually. But so
super cool stuff. I appreciate you. All right,
man,
anything else before we call it quit? Quits here.
Thanks again for the invitation. We look forward to working, collaborating, and seeing how quickly we can get some of these other things implemented, man.
Sounds good. My pleasure, brother. Appreciate you. Definitely.
All right, man.
We got a chance to chat and get to know each other today, and we'll get to know each other even further. So
you're in Texas, appreciate right? You said you're in Texas?
I was in Texas. I'm now up in Indiana.
Okay. All right.
Everything's it's cool. I can get a straight shot from here to Austin. That's what I love about Indianapolis Airport. It's really nice. So I can go straight shot from here to Austin. I can go straight shot easy to Dallas without any kind of delays or whatnot. So and my wife and I were talking about that too. We fly down to Destin sometimes or Tampa and things. We can get some straight shot flights out there.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, good deal, man. My wife and I have planned. We've been to Destin a couple times this last year. We like Destin quite a bit. We also like Nashville quite a bit as well. Definitely both of those two of our enjoyable places just to go spend time and get away from shit. But wife and I are looking to get back to Texas eventually. We're kicking ourselves in the ass now for not buying something 5 years ago, like we had discussed, when we first started getting back together and all that other good stuff. So, but hindsight's 2020 with certain things, but we're definitely hoping to get back there. Where that is at this point, we'll see where my wife's medical board stuff goes and see how that transitions at this point. So,
yeah, definitely.
Appreciate the time. Thanks again, dude. Look forward to talking with you in the future.
Sounds good. All right, brother. We'll see you in a few days, I'm sure.